All right, there we go. Here it is. Anyway, good to see you guys. It's your boy Black Mufasa once again, and welcome to episode 3 of Let's Talk About It. Now, in today's episode, we have two subjects I want to get into. Um, the first is a video that I just came across today by Xeno. Again, he's a big Final Fantasy 14 streamer, and I watch a lot of his content. He has some interesting takes. And today he was basically detailing his experience running a dungeon as a Dark Knight. Now, I've talked about Dark Knight in the first two episodes, especially last episode. I talked a lot about Dark Knight and what I think about the class and how much I enjoy the class. Well, actually, how much I don't enjoy the class, and things that I think they can do to make the class better. But there's one thing that Xeno said in his video about Dark Knight with one of the skills, because in episode 2, I detailed a solution that they can use for Abyssal Drain, which is the one AoE skill that gets the Dark Knight HP recovery, pretty much the only one he really has. He did get another upgrade to one of his defensive cooldowns that allows him to restore some HP, but it's still on like a 120-second cooldown. So a 2-minute cooldown. It's about as useless as Abyssal Drain ultimately. But I had given a sort of solution to Abyssal Drain, but then he said something about the skill and how it used to operate in Heaven's Ward. And of course, it's been so long that I actually didn't even remember this. But when you said it, I was like, wait, you're right. So we're going to watch the video. I'm going to react to it. And then there's another video that's talking about the Healer Strike. And I'm going to give my take on the Healer Strike, if you can even really call it that. And I'm also going to talk about something that I experienced on day one of the early access, concerning healers that I thought was just absolutely ridiculous. I should have talked about this sooner, but I'm going to talk about it today. So we're going to go ahead and look at this video by Xeno. And like I said, I'm going to give commentary on his thoughts about what he went through and basically, share some of my experiences, playing in dungeons with tanks and just in general, but mainly in regards to tanks. So let's get into it.
Okay, so I'm going to tell you a story, Matt.
And I guess it might actually help if I change the sound real quick. I always forget to do this. I always turn my headset off. So let's do that real quick. There. That. Now let's get into it.
I was leveling Dark Knight. Now, I redacted this just because I don't want any ass-hurt person to say that I'm, like, flaming them or whatever. So I'm just going to tell you the story. So I'm leveling Dark Knight. I don't even have the chat open. I'm just chilling in Discord, and I'm just running through the dungeon, right? Like we just do a pull. I die, like, 3 times, man. I'm not even kidding. On the first pull, dead. Second pull, dead. Third pull, dead. I'm not even kidding. And I don't say anything, okay? I don't say anything in the...
Now, in regards to this, I actually ran the dungeon, I believe I ran it early, like yesterday morning after I got off stream. I ran through because I was going through the game, right, and I just gotten Viper to level 100, so my Viper is level cap, and I was in one of the towns, like one of the main towns in Dawntrail, and I seen a samurai, and this dude, like, he was, man. First off, samurais always seem to have some of the best drip when it comes to their job class outfit. Like when they debuted in Stormblood, their 70 outfit was on point. Like it was just loved it. 80, the Shadowbringers AF set, I wasn't a big fan of, and I think a lot of people weren't really a big fan of the level 80 job class set for the samurai. Level 90, they definitely brought it back. Level 90 looked way better. I liked the color scheme for it. Just the whole look in general just looked really good. But this year, this expansion, the level, and technically it's not level 90 because in Walker you get your set at 89, so the level 89 set technically, and then in this one it's 99. So, but even still, the level 99 set for Samurai, man, does it look good. Like, Viper set looks all right for what it is. It looks all right. I haven't gotten it yet. Like I said, I just hit 100. I'm still doing like 98 quests, so I imagine that I'll get it before long. But the 99 set for Samurai, as soon as I saw that set, I said, you know what? I gotta level Samurai Net. I gotta level cap Samurai Next. It's gotta happen. Because I never really paid a lot of attention to the set when I was watching like the showcase. When they're showcasing the job classes and whatnot, I didn't pay much attention to it. I just watched the moves more so than I did the actual outfits they were wearing. But I finally got a good look at Samurai's outfit, and man, the drip is there. It's so good. So I'm definitely going to get my hands on it. I'm currently leveling Samurai now. He's 93, so I've got 7 levels to go. Well, technically 6 levels to go, and then I got to, of course, get to that point in the game. I just made the solution 9 yesterday, so it shouldn't be too much longer. But anyway, where was I even going with this? Uh, oh, I was running a dungeon, and I was actually running, I think, a 67 97. I don't know why. I don't know why I'm stuck in the 60s still with when it comes in regards to levels. But I was running the level 97 dungeon Vanguard, and I was running it with my uh Viper, and we had a Dark Knight as a tank, and he struggled. Like, if the healer wasn't basically healing him, he was pretty much screwed. So there was many a time where I seen him on the brink of death, and it's just the fact that, and I've said this before, Xeno has said this, but Dark Knight struggle in comparison to the other 3 tanks. Dark Knight appears to struggle so much in dungeon content, and it really makes no sense why. It just doesn't make any sense. He was just like Xeno just said in this video, he died 3 times as a Dark Knight in dungeons. Generally, if I die with playing any other class, like if I like that same dungeon, that 97 dungeon, I died with my warrior. I think I died like twice to the same pool, and that's only because I wasn't using my mitigation tools. That's all. I just wasn't using my damage mitigation skills. So that was my own fault. It was no fault of the healer. It's no fault of the job class itself. It was just that I wasn't using damage mits, and I was dying as a result because I was pulling, the whole group. And the worst part is, it wasn't even a big group, but they were just dealing enough damage, and I wasn't mitigating damage properly, so I was dying. So when I started using damage mits, I survived. It is what it is. But I also don't maintain, so therefore a lot of times I will forget to use them, or I don't use them properly. And again, that's just the nature of not using a class regularly, and not having a system in place for how to use your skills. Like when it comes to DPS classes, most DPS classes I typically know what to do or know when to use certain skills because I'm more familiar with the DPS. I'm a DPS main. With healers, not so much. I'm probably the worst with healers than I am with tanks. Because with healers, you gotta know when to heal. You gotta know when to use certain healing skills, certain buff skills or defensive skills if they have any, and then you DPS. Like DPS is pretty much like the last thing on their list. Healing should basically always take priority. So the Dark Knight that we were running with had a lot of trouble, keeping their health up because they don't really because outside the few damage mitigation tools that they have, they really don't have any health sustain. They typically have 3. They had 2. They gained a third one, and that's only in the form of one of the defensive school, one of the defensive, uh, one of the defensive skills, it now has a healing property. And I think you get that at 92, I believe it is. Yeah, at 92 you get that. But again, that same skill is tied to a 2 minute cooldown, and it doesn't get reduced in later levels. So it's not like when you hit like 96 or 98, like there's a lot of skills that will sometimes get a cooldown reduction once you hit like 96 or so. Like for instance, Samurai. Two of Samurai skills are currently on a 2 minute cooldown. Something Gorin and something, I forget what the skills are called, but they're on a 2 minute cooldown currently. Once I hit 96, that cooldown gets cut in half. They get reduced to a 60-second cooldown. So that's a huge change, because that means you can now use those two skills, or one of those two skills, a minute sooner. Makes a big difference in your damage. Like that 1 minute it makes a huge difference, or at least it's going to make a difference, I feel. But like I said, the tank was struggling pretty much with the whole dungeon. Now, he didn't die, but he came close many times. And that's the issue that I see with Dark Knight in general. Like, I never see it with Warrior. I almost never see it with Warrior. Don't see it with Paladin, because they have defense on top of defense, basically. I don't even really see it with Gunbreaker. You know, like those three tanks, I don't see that with. I don't, like I said, Warrior is like, it's pretty much almost impossible for Warrior to die unless you just, like I said, unless you just get completely overwhelmed and don't use damage mitigation tools. But as long as you have Bloodwetting, that basically is your get out of jail free card for the most part. Paladin, like I said, they have defensive tools all around, as well as a shield to help block damage to go alongside their parrying. Gunbreaker, they've got some defensive tools. They got pretty good healing. Yeah, they've got solid healing, and like I said, they've got defensive tools. Plus, Brutal Shell gives them a shield, and that's part of their 1-2-3 combo. It's not a big shield, but it's still something that can come in handy, and it's something that's pretty much always available. As long as you're doing their 1-2-3 combo, you'll always have a shield up, so it's useful. But Dark Knight doesn't really have that. Dark Knight, they have a few defensive skills. They have TBN, which I spoke extensively about that in my last episode. I talked about how much I dislike it. He's gonna Xeno's definitely gonna talk about TBN, because he hates TBN. In fact, as a tank main, I'm pretty sure that he hates TBN even more than I do. I'm not even a tank main, and I can't stand TBN, and I've already detailed my reasons why. But just a quick recap, it's outdated. The skill is outdated. It needs to either be reworked or it needs to be removed altogether. I've touched on this, so I won't go into another rant about that skill in this episode. But just know I've spoken my piece about it, and Xeno definitely shares that sentiment. Like I said, I think he hates it even more than I do. But let's continue with the video.
The entire dungeon. But in Discord, I'm like, man, this in Discord, I'm a little mad. Well, not mad, but I'm annoyed, right? So then we get to the final boss, and I just
and speaking of Discord, that's something I should bring up too. To all you in chat who do watch my content and stuff, use my Discord. I need to use my Discord more, but the kind of the reason why I don't even think about Discord as much is because y'all don't really utilize my Discord. I think I have a couple people, like maybe 2 or 3 people that at least from here, that have actually joined my Discord. But really and truly, if you want news about my streams and stuff like that, utilize Discord. Now again, I need to actually get on it more to like announce my episodes, because like as far as like what games I'm playing, that will basically just be kind of up in the air. That's always kind of up in the air, because I typically change what I play on a dime. Like yesterday, I think I jumped between two different games, like two or three. Like I jumped between like three games. So I started off with I think Final Fantasy, then I played First Descendant, and then I ended the stream basically playing Elden Ring and getting my ass stomped by the final boss. Um, I haven't beaten him yet. I will one day. And then as soon as I beat the game, I will then play the DLC. But I do not plan on jumping into the DLC until I beat the boss. I at least want to beat the main game before I jump into the DLC. So that's why I haven't even touched the DLC, despite having access to it for the better part of a week now, because I already beat Mogwin. But anyway, use my Discord. Go to my Discord. It's on my Twitch profile. So if you want to know what it is, just go to my Twitch profile. It's there. Go there. Join my Discord. Utilize the features that are there, and that way, if for any reason I don't stream, like if I for whatever reason need to take a day off, or if I'm going to be late to my stream or whatever, that's what Discord's for. Is to let you know what's going on with the stream, because there may be a day where I can't stream for whatever reason. Like I might have something going on, or I might need to take a day off, or I might need to step away, you know, for personal reasons. But whatever the case may be, if you go to my Discord, you'll know this ahead of time. But if you don't utilize Discord and then you come in expecting a stream and I'm not streaming, you're not gonna know what's going on. And at that point, it's kind of on you, because I've even I've even edited my profile page, at least on the About Me, to even encourage all of you to go to my Discord. So if you're not utilizing my Discord, despite it being on my profile to do so, and you expect the stream from me, and I'm not able to stream, and you don't know what's going on, again, that's on you, because the information's there. So now we get that out of the way. Back to the video.
Just go. You know what I mean? I just go. And of course, someone is in the cutscene. Okay. Now I'm going to say this right now. If you are wanting to watch the cutscene in a dungeon, then you need to do the trust. Get the fuck out of here with that bullshit. If
you know what? I used to have this mentality. I really did. I used to hate it when people would sit there and watch the cutscenes in a dungeon. I'm like, dude, you can. I used to tell people, like, look, if you want to watch a cutscene, that's what YouTube's for. And this is years ago, before we even got a trust system, because there was a point in time where we didn't even have a trust system. So if you came across somebody who wanted to watch the cutscene, you just had to basically sit there and take it. Like, you just had to deal with it, you know. And while you can use the trust system if you want a single player experience, or if you just want to watch cutscenes or whatever the case may be, I personally don't like the trust system because I find it to be slower. He's going to make an argument against that point, saying that it's not that much slower than running with people. I disagree. One, I feel like you don't get. Okay, when you knock, wait for me to actually say come in. Now, what do you need? Go ahead. Sorry about that. Now, what I was saying about the trust system, I personally find it to be a bit slower. One of the reasons why, because it's just how I like to run dungeons. I'm kind of like him, gung ho, go 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 go. Like if I'm running tank, I'm gonna pull the whole damn room. That's just how I run. I want every enemy on me, and I want to be able to clear that room as quickly as possible. And when I'm running DPS, I want the tank to do the same thing. I want the tank to pull the entire damn room. I want the healer to be focused on keeping that tank alive. And me and the other DPS, we're going to go to town and we're just going to wipe the floor with every enemy on screen. That's much faster than running with a trust. I have never ran a trust dungeon and had the NPC tank pull the whole room. They're going to pull one group at a time. unless you basically just force the tank to try to take the whole room, and then he may or may not survive. You know what I'm saying? But that's one of the reasons why I don't like doing trust dungeons, because it feels slower because of how I'm used to running a dungeon, or how I pull aggro. So I've never really cared for the idea of running a trust dungeon. Plus, if I'm not mistaken, you actually get less experience running a trust dungeon versus running with actual people. So if you run a trust dungeon, you're going to get less experience as a whole than if you were to run with an actual party. People run with actual players. So that's another reason why I don't like running trust dungeons. Again, if you're doing it for the story, hey, do you, boo boo? If that's why you're doing it. If you're doing it for the story, then I say go for it. But if you're doing it for the experience, it's definitely a slower experience. And I've actually noticed a difference in experience game, running a trust dungeon versus running a standard dungeon. I've seen the experience difference. There is a massive difference, or maybe not massive, but there is a difference in experience gain running a trust dungeon versus running with players. So for that reason, I don't run trust dungeons. Now, if I'm desperate to get into a dungeon, or if I only need like maybe a little bit of experience to gain that next level, and I can't get into a party quick enough, then yeah, I might run a trust. And even then, I would much rather just run fates. If I'm being perfectly honest with you, I would much rather just run fate dungeons. It's much faster, and I don't know why I keep looking off to the right instead of right at the camera, but yeah, if I just need a little bit more experience, or if I have like that small chunk, like maybe I have like maybe that much left, to gain experience with, I'm gonna run fates, because even that's faster than running a trust dungeon, in my opinion. But yeah, I personally don't like trust dungeons. I never really have. They're interesting, but they're slower. You gain less experience, and the only reason I run dungeons is for the experience. If the experience gain is slow, why would I want to do it? You know what I mean? That's just my opinion on the matter. But also in regards to him getting mad at people for wanting to watch cutscenes, like I said, I used to be bothered by that. I used to get irritated about that. I used to be very impatient. Over the years, I've gotten over it. People are going to watch cutscenes, whether it's a dungeon, whether it's a normal raid, whether it's a savage. It doesn't matter. Like if there's like a little intro cutscene, or if you get to a boss fight and there's a cutscene before the boss fight actually starts, I'm not going to get mad at somebody for wanting to watch the cutscene. You know, this is more or less a nitpick on Xeno's end, rather than it being an actual problem. You know what I'm saying? This is not an actual problem inherently for like the community as a whole. This is just a Xeno problem. This is just something that Xeno doesn't like. So I disagree with him saying that if you want to watch the cutscenes, that that's what the trust is for. No, that isn't just what the trust is for, Xeno. So I'm actually gonna disagree with you on that one. I don't agree with that take. I used to have that take. Being somebody who's been playing this game for 8 years, I used to think like you. I used to think, hey, go watch YouTube if you want to watch a cutscene. You know what I'm saying? That's what it's there for. But it's a selfish take. Like, bottom line, it's selfish. The game doesn't revolve around you any more than it revolves around other players. You know what I'm saying? That's how I look at it. So if matter of fact, I'll even give you a perfect example of that. MSQ roulettes, main scenario roulette. You can't skip the cutscenes, and I hate them. I hate MSQ roulette, but it gives you massive experience, so I do it. Even though I hate having to watch the same cutscenes that I've done watched hundreds of times at this point, hundreds of times. But I deal with it, right? I just deal with it. If I can deal with watching the same MSQ cutscenes that I've watched literally for 8 years, you can deal with players watching a short cutscene before a boss fight or going into a dungeon. It's not going to kill you, Xeno. And if it does, then you should be the one doing trust dungeons. That's how I feel about it. If you have such a problem with people watching cutscenes in a dungeon, then you should be the one to do a trust if you don't want to see the cutscenes. Run a trust yourself. Don't run with other people if it's going to be that much of a problem for you, which apparently it is.
If you go in with other people, they do not have to adhere to your bullshit. Okay.
And I want you to keep that same energy, Xeno. When you go into a dungeon with other people, they don't have to adhere to yours. Just want to make sure we're clear on that. Like let's keep the same energy. Again, I like you as a content creator. I think you're a chill dude, but this is a stupid take. I'm just going to say it. It's a stupid take. It's a very selfish one. Just like people don't have to adhere to, or just like you don't have to adhere to other people's bullshit, they don't have to adhere to yours. You know what I'm saying? Dungeon runs don't revolve around you. They revolve around the whole party. If the party as a whole has no issue with one or two people watching a cutscene, you shouldn't either. You know, I've watched your content for a while. I know that you're very gung-ho. You've said it many times. You have one speed. Problem is, not everybody has your speed. Not everybody is gung-ho like you when it comes to dungeons. And mind you, I'm pretty much the same way. I like going through dungeons and blazing through. I like blazing a trail, cutting a path, everything. I'm pretty much the same. I'm pretty much the same as you in that regard. I like to get into a dungeon and knock it out and get my experience, especially when I'm trying to level up. But at the same time, I'm not going to freaking lose my shit, or I'm not going to sit there and rant on the internet because the party wanted to watch a cutscene in a dungeon that has a cutscene. Because there's a point in time where we didn't have the trust system, and that's what people did in a story-based MMO. You know what I'm saying? So again, this is kind of a shit take for you. And sure, I'm not going to be able to convince you otherwise. Your chat's not going to convince you otherwise. No one's going to convince you otherwise. And personally, I'm not trying to. I'm just giving you my opinion on your opinion, and I don't agree with yours. At least not in this regard. I don't agree with this take at all. And this is coming from somebody who used to have the same opinion as you. But my opinion has evolved. And I think yours should too. But let's continue.
Okay, that is why they put the trust in the game. So if you want to watch the story and take your time, then you can go with the fucking trust. Okay, don't fucking queue in and expect people to just adhere to you. That's stupid. I'm just gonna go, bro. They put the trust in the game specifically for that reason. Anyway.
Yeah, I'm looking at this chat, and people are actually basically agreeing with my take. They're actually telling you L take and whatnot, and some you got the one person saying W take, but yeah, and you get the one person that always do the trust first to learn and watch story. Like I said, I personally don't like the trust system. I don't like it. I've tried it. I personally don't care for it. But that's just me. But if I decide to watch a cutscene, I shouldn't have, now if everybody in the party wants me to hurry up, if I see somebody in the chat saying, "Yo, let's go," okay, cool, whatever. Then I'll go to YouTube, watch a cutscene or something like that. But if nobody in chat is saying anything, and 99.9% of the time, nobody in your party is going to care. If you got that one or two player, if you got that one or maybe two, that's one or two players that wants to sit there and watch the cutscene, the rest of the party is not going to care. I've never cared. Especially if you're going through a brand new expansion, which this currently is. You get to the dungeon, you get toward the end of the dungeon, you see the intro cutscene to the boss or whatever, or maybe they have like a brief interaction before the fight starts, whatever the case may be. If a player wants to watch it, I'm not going to care. Hell, at the tail end of Endwalker, there's people that were coming into the dungeons that still hadn't gotten that far in the game. The in-game dungeons. I've already completed these dungeons like 50 plus times. but I'm still doing these dungeons for my daily roulettes and whatnot, and running into players who hadn't yet completed them. It's their first time, and of course they're watching the cutscenes because it's their first time. I'm not getting mad at that. I could give a fuck less. Let them watch the cutscene. Let them experience the story. Hell, Endwalker had a great story, unlike Dawn Trail, or as I've called it, Yawn Trail. And I still think the story is boring. And I haven't even finished it yet. It's gotten a little more interesting as it's gone forth. As it gets closer to the end, it's gotten more interesting, admittedly. But it's still boring overall. It still doesn't interest me enough. But I'll at least say that it's not a completely shit story. It's more like a 4 out of 10. 5 on it might be a 5 by the end, but right now it's a 4. But again, that's just me. But yeah, this is so far a really bad take, yeah, you shouldn't. Well, I ain't gonna say you shouldn't, but actually, no, I will say that you shouldn't expect people to just run at your speed, just because you don't want to sit there and wait for a cutscene to complete. You shouldn't expect people to have the same mentality. Not everybody's going to be like you. You know what I'm saying? Some players are going to queue into a party and they're going to watch the cutscene. And that's not a problem, especially if the rest of the party, especially if you're the only person in that party. And according to this video, it seems like you're the only person in that party that has this issue. The rest of the party is perfectly fine with it. So the problem isn't the person watching the cutscene in this scenario. The problem is you. You got to look at it that. I think you should really look at it that way. If you're the only person with an issue with something, and the rest of your party is fine, then maybe the issue isn't the issue. Maybe the issue is you having the issue. Just something to consider.
So of course, someone's in the cutscene, and I don't notice, right? Because I'm on autopilot. I'm on farm mode. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, so I pull, and the guy's like, "Bruh, you serious? Your healer and other DPS were in the cutscene." Now I don't actually care if I die. Like, if I pull and they're in the cutscene and I die, then that's on me. But then they were like, "Die on your own."
Yeah, but at the same time, if you're so much in autopilot that you're not even paying attention to your party, that is definitely a you problem. Like, that's just negligence on your part. Because let's see, Xander Snake Skinner. Oh, and he was doing Vanguard. On top of that, he was running Vanguard, one of my favorite dungeons currently. But yeah, you're running Vanguard. People aren't ready. And you're just running in. Like, how do you run headfirst into a dungeon and not even notice that your party isn't behind you? Like, that's one thing I've always done. Like, one of the few things I do, whether I'm playing healer, tank, or DPS. If I'm running DPS, I might run ahead of the tank, but I will always stop short before I get to the next group of enemies, so that the tank can actually go ahead of me and pull, because that's his role. My role is to kill the enemies. His role is to aggro them. It's common sense. If I'm running healer, I do the same thing. If I get ahead, I stop short, let the tank and the DPS go, so that I can come in from the rear and heal and deal DPS. But even if I'm running tank, I might run ahead and start pulling enemies and whatnot. But like, if I get to a boss, I wait for the group. You know what I'm saying? I will always wait for the group, so that we go in as a group. We came in dungeon as a group. We're going to go into the boss fight as a group. For whatever reason, someone gets held behind, or maybe they had to like go to the bathroom or some shit. Maybe they answer the phone, whatever. If they say be right back, all right, cool. I'll wait for you. Despite me wanting to get to this dungeon, it's not a big deal. I'll wait. It's not going to kill me to wait for maybe 30 seconds, 2 minutes. It's not going to kill you. You know what I'm saying? It's not a big deal to me. Again, it used to be, but it's not now.
So I was like, and keep in mind, I'm not looking at the chat, okay? All right?
That was your first problem. That right there was your first fucking problem. Is you weren't looking at the chat. You weren't paying attention. Even if I don't even talk to my party in a dungeon, I still look at the chat because you never know what people are saying. That again, they may not be saying anything important, and if they're not saying anything important, chances are I'm not going to respond. Like most times, you go into a dungeon, everyone's saying hi, hi, hiya, morning, afternoon, evening, whatever. They say the basics. They give their greetings. Sometimes I'll greet them back. Sometimes if I'm a tank, it's a 50-50 chance that I'm either going to greet you or I'm just going to freaking come in and go straight towards the first group of enemies. Like it's literally a 50-50. I'm either going to greet you and then start tanking, or I'm just going to go straight to tanking. It just depends on my mood. But it's literally a 50-50 shot. And honestly, it's the same thing with any role that I play. It doesn't matter if I DPS or heal or tank. It's the same thing. It's a 50-50 shot that I might talk. I don't talk a lot, when I run dungeons, but sometimes I do. But I still look at the chat. That's the whole point I'm making is I still look at chat. He doesn't look at chat. So he had no idea what was being said to him. And that, I think, again, that's a him problem. Hell, I'm a streamer just like you, Xeno. You know what I'm saying? I have two monitors. 3 if you count my tablet that I use as a webcam. So I could be playing my game on the main screen. I could have, OBS on my other screen, and I could have, Twitch up on my tablet as well as using it for the webcam. And so I can still be I could be playing the game. I could be looking at chat and whatnot, and I still pay attention to my in-game chat. Is what I'm getting at. I still pay attention to in-game chat, even if I am somewhat in autopilot. I'm still going to pay attention to in-game chat because you never know what your party has to say, and sometimes your party might have to say something important. Like like I said, they may need to leave for a minute, or they may need a moment before you pull the next group. You don't know. If you don't check your chat, you're not going to know. You know what I'm saying? The whole point of being in a party is being part of the party, and if you're a tank, it's especially important that you are part of the party, even if you are a one-man army, which is what pretty much most warriors are. But let's go.
And then this guy's like, I ain't doing shit. I am not helping in any way because of your attitude. I haven't.
Now, this regard, I will defend Xeno on. I will defend him on this one. The whole I ain't doing shit or I'm not helping in any way because of your attitude. Again, I often don't talk in my parties when I run dungeons. So to the average player to the average player that plays this game on a regular, we're not going to see that as an issue, or we're not going to see that as a problem, because most players don't talk. They just jump into a dungeon, they run the content, they get their experience and their gear if they need it, and they fuck off. That's what we do generally. So, saying that the person has an attitude just because they're not talking to you, you don't know what's going on the other side. You don't know what's going on the other side of their screen. Like in this case, Xeno wasn't paying attention to his chat, which again, I feel is his fault. That's on him. He should have been paying attention to his chat, but he wasn't. But again, they don't know that. So they're assuming that he's an asshole. And in some ways he is. But I think we all have that we all have that. But they're assuming that he's an asshole because he's not talking to them in chat. Not realizing that he's not paying attention to chat. He's paying attention to his game and probably Discord. So, his minds are already divided. So he's focusing on getting to the dungeon and probably what Discord is saying, and he's not even looking at his chat in game. It happens. I think again that he should have been paying attention to his in-game chat, but if he's so accustomed to ignoring it, then it kind of makes sense why he wouldn't even think about it. So that's another thing that these kind of wheels are turning my head. You got to look at you got to look at multiple factors and not just the one that pertains to you and how you feel. You know what I mean? But yeah, I don't agree with them getting up in arms. At least not to the extent that they're not going to help because of your attitude. Another example I can give of that is I don't like it when players pull. Like if I'm running a tank, I don't like it when players pull ahead of me. Like, and I used to do this. And what the hell is going on with my damn thing? You know what? Hold on a second. Let me reset my camera because my camera's being funky. So hold on, let me correct that right quick. All right, there we go. But yeah, I don't like it personally when I'm tanking and somebody pulls ahead of me. Like if a DPS pulls ahead of me or a healer, especially a healer, I really don't like it when healers do it. For some reason, it just grinds my gears. But I don't like it when a healer pulls ahead of me because I might not be ready. I might need to stop and I might need to change a gear piece. Like maybe I got a new piece of gear and I want to go ahead and put it on right then and there. Or I might need to, or maybe I have to stop and check something. You never know. So I don't like it when they pull ahead of me and basically force me to tank, you know, when I'm not ready to tank. And this actually happened in a dungeon. I think it was yesterday, or maybe earlier this morning. Actually, I think I was stream. We're running Vanguard of all dungeons, and a healer. We had gotten to the second boss of the dungeon. The tank had stopped because he had to do something, and I can already tell this. So again, I always stop, wait for the tank. I don't initiate a boss fight ahead of the tank. I let the tank initiate the boss fight because again, it's his job to tank. So I'm sitting there waiting. Healer's with me, and I think the other DPS was like right behind us. The tank is sitting there, doing whatever he needed to do because he had to do something, but we didn't know that. I just knew that he wasn't moving, so obviously he was busy with something. Well, the healer decided that he was impatient, so he runs ahead, hits the boss, starts the boss fight. So now the tank has to drop whatever he's doing and basically get in there. And the tank literally said, "Dude, I wasn't ready," but he had to get ready because the healer couldn't wait. That's one of the reasons why I disagree with Xeno's take of, if you want to do this, you need to do trust. It's because of factors like that where I've seen firsthand people who are impatient that are forcing other players to adhere to their bullshit. Like he says, you should not expect people to adhere to your bullshit. Well, that goes both ways. Like you can't expect the tank to your tune or to your speed just because you don't want to sit and wait for him to do what he or she is doing. You don't know what they're doing behind that screen. They might have to do something. They might have to get up for a second. You don't know that. So you can't just go ahead and start a fight because you want them to go faster. And I'm guilty of this myself when it comes to tank pulling. Because again, I'm used to pulling an entire room. I've had times where I've had tanks literally just pull one group at a time, and I'll get mad and I'll go ahead and pull the next group and bring it to them. Well, I've had to learn to stop doing that because that tank may not be very experienced with big pulls. That tank may only be able to do small pulls. So by me going ahead and pulling that next two groups and bringing them to him or her, I may end up overwhelming that tank. And that tank ends up dying as a result because they're not prepared to deal with larger groups. They may get frustrated and just completely bail and say, you know what? I don't want to do this. I don't want to run this dungeon with this kind of group. And they'll leave. Now we need another tank. All because I was too impatient. You know what I'm saying? So on the one hand, I don't agree with them getting mad at him because of his quote unquote attitude because he didn't have one. But at the same time, I can understand him getting upset with him trying to rush through ahead of the group and not being a team player, which is really what the issue is here. The issue that I'm seeing is that he's just not being a team player, and that's why they're getting frustrated. So I can see it from both ends. I can see from his end that he doesn't want to have to sit and wait for people to watch cutscenes, which I think is very minute. That's just a nitpick personally. But on the other hand, I can also see them getting frustrated because of him not being a team player. So I see both sides, is what I'm saying.
Said anything the entire fucking time. And then the guy's like, no, I'm not participating because of you, because I do a ready check, right? And then the guy's like, you legit ran in without.
Now, that right there is kind of dumb. So they get mad at him. Like I said, they got mad at him because of a supposed attitude that he doesn't have. Because, like he said, he hasn't said a word to them the entire dungeon. Which, again, that can be perceived as an attitude. Me personally, I don't take offense to that. If someone doesn't say one word to me the entire dungeon, my day will not be ruined. My feathers will not be ruffled. It's not going to bother me at all. It just won't. Because, again, it's a dungeon. You know what I'm saying? I don't run dungeons to be social. Every once in a blue moon, I will talk. Most cases, I am there to do the dungeon and be done with it. That's it. It's not a big deal. But the fact that this person got mad and essentially, decided not to participate. Here's the interesting thing, right? 3 out of 4 readied up. So despite the fact that they are mad, were mad at him, the whole party is essentially mad at him. This is another thing it just clicked with me. The whole party is essentially mad at him, right? Let's see, but well, actually, I can't even. Well, actually, let me look at the names. Let's see. No, I'm not percent you. I'm not helping in any way because of your attitude. I ain't doing shit. So yeah, this one person is salty as fuck. This person is salty as hell. Cause like you had one person that said bruh, then the other person said, you serious, and then the other one's like your healer and other DPS were in the cutscene. So basically, like what, 3 of them, or at least 2 of them, were in the cutscene. At least 2 of them, it seems like, spoke to him or said something to him. But then you had that one person that decided to take it a whole extra mile. So basically, all 3 of them said something to him. But the other 2 queued up with him. So when he did the ready check, the other 2 were still willing to run the dungeon. It's that one person that decided, nah, I choose violence today. And decided to just basically derail the entire dungeon. You're already at the end. You decide to derail an entire dungeon's worth of effort, all because you dislike one person in your party. Now, in this regard, like I said, I will defend Xeno and say that this person was just a shit player. Like this person had a worse attitude than Xeno. The worst thing Xeno did in this whole dungeon. And granted, and like I said, even though I did, criticize Xeno on his opinion and his take, the only thing that Xeno truly did wrong in this whole thing was not talk to the party and not want them to watch cutscenes and rush ahead. Those are the only 3 things he did wrong: is not talk, not be patient, and rush ahead. Oh no. Whatever shall we do? The dungeon is ruined. Really? So despite, like I said, despite my criticism of his take, on certain subjects or on certain non-issues, I'll say, he really did nothing wrong. Truly, he did nothing wrong in this. He really did nothing wrong, for real. He just has, I think, I just think in this regard, he kind of has a bad take, and I don't agree with his opinion. But that's about it. But this one person, though, basically derailed the whole party because they got mad. And then basically says, abandon duty. We will do this with new or cooperative people. First off, you spaced out co and operative. It's one word, you dingleberry. And now when he does another ready check, only two people go. So he basically convinced one person. So now this person has split the party. Yeah, this person's now officially split the party. Like, y'all are at the end. But anyway, let's go.
Out the healer. And at this point is when I check the chat. I'm like, what the fuck? Like when I see the ready checks only 3 out of 4 or whatever, I'm like, what the fuck? So then I check it and I'm like, what is going on? They vote to abandon. Okay, we're at the last boss, by the way. And they're like, abandon duty. We will do this with new, more cooperative people.
Like I said, doing that at the last boss is that's like, if you want to get mad at him for not waiting on you to watch a cutscene, okay, fine. If you want to get mad at him for rushing ahead and getting himself killed, cool, understandable. But to completely take both take both of those instances and use that as a defense to abandon an entire dungeon when you are at the end is asinine. Like that's actually more entitled than Xeno wanting people to use the trust system to watch the story, to watch cutscenes. It's even more entitled than Xeno's take. That's practically Karen activity.
We were at the last boss. They didn't kick me. No, that's the thing. They didn't kick me. If they were to just kick.
And see, and that was the other two. That was the other thing too. If you're so mad at him, why didn't you just vote to have him kicked? And again, this is where I do defend Xeno on this part. I defend him on this one too. They could have just kicked him and replaced him with another tank. It probably wouldn't have taken that long to get another tank, maybe. But they could have just kicked him, got another tank, finished out the dungeon. But instead, this genius of a player decides to just abandon the entire dungeon, abandon all that effort, and come back and do it all over again, but with a more cooperative player. Just replace him. Why replace the entire dungeon?
Like, here's the thing. Whenever I go into like a pug or anything like that, I just expect the worst. If as a group they were like, no, fuck this guy, we want to watch the cutscene, then that's 3 against 1. Then I just have to get kicked. That's it. Like I'm not gonna hold it personal or anything, right? But I didn't say anything. I didn't say a single thing this entire dungeon. I wasn't even looking at the chat. Like I didn't even have my chat up throughout the entire dungeon until I saw the vote abandon or whatever. And I was like, wait, what the fuck? So I saw the vote abandon, then I did a ready check.
You're in the wrong, respect cutscene watchers. And like I said, I kind of have to agree with that. I agree with the people that are saying, respect the cutscene watchers. Again, I have the same opinion. I used to be the same person that used to hate it when people sat there and watched cutscenes, but that was because I had already watched the cutscenes. And like this, and again, this actually stemmed from me doing repeat content. That I should have prefaced that by saying this stemmed from me doing repeat content. This is back when I would do main scenario roulette and you actually could skip the cutscenes. So I would skip the cutscene like most of us would, but you'd have that one or two people. You have that one or two people that would still watch it because it's their first time, and I would get frustrated each and every time. I'd be like, man, come on, yo, just like watch it later. You know what I'm saying? I would get frustrated by it because it was irritating. So it was very frustrating. But again, as time progressed and whatnot, I just basically got to the point where it's like, you know what, it's not that big of a deal. So I stopped getting mad about it. Like I said, I used to get mad about it, but I essentially grew up. I mean, that's pretty much what it boils down to. I just kind of grew up and said, you know what, it's not that big of a deal. And now, of course, they made it to where you can't skip the cutscenes at all. So now everybody has to suffer whenever you do main scenario roulette. Everybody suffers. Nobody can skip. Nobody is spared. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is. But yeah, I don't get mad when people watch cutscenes. Um, I think everybody. I think everyone should have a choice. If you want to watch cutscene, watch cutscene. If you don't want to watch cutscene, don't watch cutscene. But don't get mad at the people who do. You know what I'm saying? If it's like I said before, if it's that much of a problem to you, then maybe you should be the one to do a trust. You know, you telling them to go use trust. Once again, like you said at the beginning, don't queue into a dungeon and expect people to adhere to your bullshit. The same applies to you, Xeno. We don't have to adhere to your bullshit just because you want to rush. Because you want us to go. That's your bullshit. We don't have to adhere to it. You know what I'm saying? And if you don't like that, then if you're the leader, you can kick those people. Or if you're not, you can fuck off and do a trust. And now you can go as fast as you want to go, or as fast as those NPCs will allow you.
Check. I'm like, what? So then I check it. And then like the healer's like, no, I'm not going to pull. And I was so annoyed. And you know why I was annoyed? Okay. Let me tell you why I was annoyed. I was not annoyed at this healer. I want to be perfectly clear. I was not annoyed at this healer. I was not annoyed at the party. They didn't do anything. I mean, they were, okay. How do I want to word it? They were just cunty. If it's 3 versus 1, then that's fine. Just kick me or, whatever. That's fine. I'll just queue up again. It's whatever. What I was mad about was how fucking much Dark Knight sucks ass in dungeons, dude.
And this is the part where me and Xeno truly align. This is the part. Like, this is the moment. Like I said, I disagree with part of his takes, on this experience. But this take right here, I will always agree with him 150 fucking %. Dark Knights truly do suck in dungeons. But it's what he says later about Dark Knight that actually freaking took me back to Heaven's War, because I actually forgot about this. And like I said, it's in regards to Abyssal Drain. But I'll let him keep going, because like I said, I'm not going to rehash my rant. I'm going to let him rant this time. So, Xeno, my boy, take it away.
Dark Knight is at the bottom of the fucking barrel. It is so trash. Like, yes. Its damage is not any higher, and it just fucking dies to everything, man. If the healer dies, you die. Yep. Dark Knight is beyond bad in dungeons. Mm-hmm. Like, it's beyond bad. Now, I know.
Now, keep in mind, he says in dungeons. And I've said this myself. Dark Knight sucks in dungeons. Always has. And as far as we're concerned, always will. Until Square Enix decides to do something about this class. But in raids, it's one of the best DPS tanks in the game. Like, it's weird to me. Like, Dark Knight sucks so much in dungeons, yet in raids, Dark Knight is often at the top of the list of the 4 tanks. It usually stands at number 1 or number 2. It's never bottom tier. Now, if you rank the tanks in terms of their dungeon performance, Dark Knight's always at the bottom, like always at the bottom. But if you rank the tanks in terms of their performance in raids, like Savage, Ultimate, hell, even like Alliance, but I think it's more so like Savage and Ultimate or whatnot, Dark Knights usually come out on top. Like their raid performance is top tier, even given their overall performance. Their overall performance, they're kind of subpar, but in raids, they always seem to come out on top, which is great. I mean, I'm glad they are selling something, because it damn sure ain't dungeons. but in dungeons, they are just terrible. It's such a horrible experience, and that's one of the reasons why I hadn't even started with Dark Knight in this expansion, because I'm not even sure I want to level him. Like I'm not even sure I want to. Like I do, but at the same time, I kind of don't. And this is really getting on my nerves. Okay, see, hopefully that did something. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what's up with my webcam today, but it's just been acting up. Anyway, but all right, Xeno, tell us something.
Oh, people are like, oh, but it's just a dungeon, boo boo he boo. Even in a dungeon, Dark Knight should not be that bad.
Agreed. I would I would actually take it a step further. In a dungeon setting, especially MSQ dungeons, no class. And I repeat, no class in Final Fantasy 14 should struggle in dungeon content. No class should. It's dungeons are about as casual as it gets. I'm serious. That's about as casual as it gets. So realistically, no class in the game of Final Fantasy 14 should struggle to run a dungeon. No class should. Now we all know that certain classes do struggle more than others, but realistically, no class should struggle, especially tanks. And the worst part is only three, or actually only one of the four tanks struggles. Dark Knight, Warrior and Dancer don't struggle. Paladin doesn't struggle either, and Gunbreaker barely struggles. I think Gunbreaker has to try a little harder than the first two, but even Gunbreaker doesn't struggle to the same extent as Dark Knight. Dark Knight, again, if you don't have any, if you lose your healer, the Dark Knight's basically done. But again, I'm gonna let him go.
Every other tank can solo every boss in a dungeon, but can Dark Knight? Absolutely not. Dark Knight just sits there and gets fucked up because it sucks. Because it's.
I'm sorry to stop again, but I have to I have to reiterate what he's saying. I have never seen a Dark Knight solo a boss. At least current level content. All right, I have never seen a Dark Knight do it. I have seen Warrior. I've done it with Warrior. I've done it with Paladin. I've come close to doing it with Gunbreaker, although I still kind of lack with Gunbreaker in terms of survivability. So that's more on me than it is the class. But I have never been able to with a Dark Knight, and I've never seen any other Dark Knight solo a boss fight ever. I've yet to see it, and I don't think we ever will unless they drastically improve how Dark Knight functions in terms of self-sustain, aka they need to give Dark Knight his self-sustain back.
Trash. It's so bad, and no one can argue that. That's a fact. No, it's not the problem that Warrior is so fucking good. No, that's not the problem. You can solo bosses on Gunbreaker. You can solo bosses on Paladin. Yep. You cannot solo a boss on Dark Knight. Not from 100%. Maybe like if it's at 5% or some shit, dude. The only bosses you can solo are the ones that don't fucking auto-attack you, man. Okay?
Pretty much.
Dark Knight is miserable in dungeons, man. And there's no reason that it needs to be that bad, man. Like, Dark Knight should be able to take care of itself. If the other tanks can take care of themselves, why can't Dark Knight? Did you guys know that Dark Knight back in the day, it used to have more self-sustain than Warrior does right now? Did you guys know that? You had this ability called Dark Arts. So basically, Dark Arts would buff certain abilities. And back in the day, you know the skill Abyssal Drain? Well, that was a GCD, and you could spam it. And when you cast Dark Arts and then you Abyssal Drain, you would heal for 100% of the damage dealt.
I forgot that that's how that's how Dark Arts that's how Abyssal Drain used to work. I forgot about that. But as soon as he said that, I was like, holy shit, he's right. Abyssal Drain used to be able to do that under the effect of Dark Arts. So it's like you would use Dark Arts. I think it was another skill that you'd use that gave you the aura that would buff your attack. It wasn't Dark Arts. So you would cast Dark Arts and then you would cast another skill to give your skill an additional effect. Like I said, it's been years since I played Heavensward, so you have to forgive me for not remembering clearly. But yes, by being able to do that, you could basically give yourself a shit ton of health, and you could easily. It pretty much was busted. The skill was kind of busted, but they they went too far in the other direction when when they tried to course correct dark arts, to essentially make it not so OP. It went from basically being OP to being no P. Yeah, like seriously, it went from being an OP skill to being a no P skill, because now it's borderline useless. You know what I'm saying? It's got like a 60-second cooldown. Yeah, it can only be used once every 60 seconds. And in that time frame, and even when you do use it, it's not like you're restoring a huge amount of health. You're only restoring a little bit of health overall once every 60 seconds. So you'll get like you'll get, a good chunk of health back, but it's not going to be enough to really make a difference when you're freaking getting curb stomped by every enemy in the room. So they need to go back to what it was. But like I said, what I suggested was not even to go back to the way it used to be, because that was the old way where you use dark arts and then you use the skill itself. My suggestion was to remove the cooldown altogether and place Abyssal Drain and make it a part of his burst window and give it five uses. Yeah, make it a part of his burst window. But then again, you can't even do 5 uses anymore. I said 5 stacks. I would say 3 stacks, and that's only because of the way Dark Knight functions in this expansion, where they essentially got rid of the 5 stacks and reduced it to 3, to basically for his new skills and whatnot. So get rid of the cooldown, make it part of his burst window, and give it 3 stats alongside his new skills. So now you have to choose between either restoring health or dealing damage. That's what I think they should do. I think that would balance out Dark Knight a lot more. Yeah, I feel like that would balance out Dark Knight a hell of a lot more than what we currently have with Dark Knight. And it would encourage me to start using them again, because as of right now, I really have no desire to use them, because I don't want to go through that BS of trying to survive a dungeon. It's not fun. But anyway,
It was badass. And then they took that away. And then now it's just this husk of a job that it is. It's just fucking awful, miserable pile of shit that it is now. Dark Knight was so much better back in the day. Anyway, while these players were like petty, I wasn't actually mad at them. I was pissed because Dark Knight sucks so much. What happened? We vote abandoned. We're at the last boss. Instead of just killing the boss, they wanted to vote abandoned. And I'm just like, bruh. Keep in mind, I didn't say anything the entire dungeon. No, they were not fine. No. I don't have to let people watch the cutscene. No. I absolutely do not. If you want to do...
You're right. You don't... Once again, I'm going to disagree with you. You don't have to let people watch the cutscene. But if you're that salty about people watching a fucking cutscene in a video game, dude, then maybe you should leave the dungeon, and again, you should be the one running a damn trust dungeon. If the majority of the party doesn't have an issue with it, you shouldn't either. If you do, you probably shouldn't be in that party. You should probably be the one to leave. That's just my 2 cents on the whole matter. Because it seems like you were the only person that had a problem with this. The whole dungeon. And even your chat. Like this is like, I have to agree, this is basically an L take on you, because even your chat disagrees with you. Your own chat disagrees with you on your take. So this is not a party problem or a dungeon problem. This is a you problem. This is purely a you problem. And you need to get over yourself, dude. Like seriously, get over yourself. It's not that serious. If people want to watch a cutscene in a dungeon or a boss fight, whatever, it's not going to kill you to wait 30. It's not going to kill you to wait, 30 seconds, 60 seconds, 2 minutes to watch a cutscene. It's not going to kill you. You will be fine.
That, then you do the trusts. End of discussion. That's a full stop. Whenever you play with other people, you have to expect that they are not going to play the way you want to play.
And it's funny that he says that, When you play with other people, you have to expect they're not going to play the way you want to play. Yet, he's expecting people to want to play the way he wants to play. You see how quickly he automatically just completely how he automatically contradicts himself. I lost my words for a second, but yeah, you see how quickly he just contradicted himself with his own statement in his effort to defend his take, his rather shitty take, I will say. Like I said, I can defend him on certain things on this topic, but this part right here, I can't defend him on because it's stupid. It's a shit take. No matter which way he tries to spin it, no matter how he tries to explain it, it's a shit take. And he even proves that in his own statement when he contradicts himself. Like I said, you say that you can't go into a dungeon and expect people to adhere to your bullshit or play or play the way you want to play, yet you went into this dungeon pretty much expecting that very thing. You're mad at people for wanting to watch a cutscene because you expect everyone that you run dungeons with to skip the cutscenes. So you're basically you're doing the exact thing that you say people should not expect people to do, and you're the one doing it yourself. Yo, perhaps you should look in the mirror more often.
No. You can L take me all fucking day, man. But if I'm in a dungeon with you, I am going full speed all the way. Fuck your cutscene, man.
Again, that is your prerogative, but don't be surprised when people don't want to run with you, or when people decide that, hey, you're not a team player. And this comes back to what I was saying. You're not really a team player. I like rushing through dungeons too, but I still run with my team. I still take the team in consideration. I still run with my team because that's why I joined the dungeon with other players to run with a team. Even if I don't say a damn word to them, I may say two things to them the entire dungeon. I may say hi and GG. I may say hi at the beginning and GG at the very end. That may be the only two things I say in that whole damn dungeon. But I'm still gonna run with my dungeon. I'm still gonna run that dungeon with my party, and I'm gonna run beside them. I'm not gonna run ahead of them or expect them to skip a cutscene or whatever, because that defeats the whole purpose of me even being in the dungeon with them. You know what I'm saying? When you run with other people, you've got to be able to adjust to other people. Your problem, Xeno, is you don't like to adjust to other people. You instead expect other people to adjust to you. So again, keep that same energy and not expecting people to adhere to your bullshit. Because this right here is your bullshit.
Okay, if you want to watch the cutscene, you do the trust. No, it's not rude. It's rude for you to expect me to want to watch the cutscene.
No, it is. It actually is rude for you to expect people to skip a cutscene just because you don't want to sit through it and wait. That actually is rude. So, yeah, I agree. It is rude, Now, at the same time, I would say, now, if I were to give you some leniency, it is kind of rude to have to sit and wait on somebody to finish a cutscene if you've explained beforehand. And like if you say at the beginning of dungeon, if you just let people know at the beginning of dungeon, hey, look, I'm trying to get through this dungeon. I'm not trying to sit through any cutscenes. So if y'all don't mind, skip the cutscenes, yada yada yada, and they agree, and then decide to watch the cutscene anyway. That's rude. That in that regard, you're right. That's rude. But if you haven't said a damn word to them the entire dungeon, but you suddenly expect them to just magically skip a cutscene because you don't want to sit through it, that is rude.
It would be different if there weren't trust in the game. If there were trust not in the game, then it would be more of like a courtesy type of thing. Okay? Dude, I don't give a fuck if it's day one, man. You know what I do?
This is what I'm talking about. He has no consideration for other players. He's not party oriented. Like he's not a team player. Like he might be a team player whenever he runs with his group to do raids and shit like that. But he's not a team player in this regard. Like he said, I don't give a fuck if it's day one. Why the fuck not, dude? It's day one. Hell, I was watching cutscenes when I first started playing the game until I realized how much the story sucked, and I said, "Yo, fuck these cutscenes." But that's a whole other conversation. But if it's day one, that, in my opinion, is when you should be the most considerate of players watching cutscenes because everybody's new. We're all experiencing the shit. What do you mean you don't care if it's their first time, if it's day one? Are you that much of a selfish prick? Like, damn, Xeno, I like you, but this is one hell of a shit take.
I want to just go through the story, I use the trust. You are not going to convince me that I have to let people watch the cutscene. Absolutely not. If you want to watch the cutscene, do the trust. That's it.
If you have that much of a problem with people watching fucking cutscenes in a dungeon, then you fucking do the trust. Now I'm starting to get pissed. If it's that much of a problem, you do a trust. As you said, there's no difference in doing a trust than being in a regular dungeon, right? You said there's no difference. It's not that much slower. So you do a trust in. Practice what you preach. It's not that much slower than running a regular dungeon. So run a trust yourself. That way you don't have to deal with it anymore.
That's full stop on that shit. Whenever you play with other people, you have to expect that people are not going to play your way. Just like me.
Right. People don't have to play your way either.
And they wanted to kick me because I just went in, then I have to accept that. That's fine. Like, I'm not going to personally be upset at them. But at the same time, I'm not going to just sit there and wait. If you want to do that shit.
Again, if you're not going to get mad at people for kicking you, but you want to get mad at people for having to wait. So kick yourself.
Then you do the trust. That's why the trusts are in the game, man. If you want a single player experience, then you do the trust. That's it. That's in the discussion. You may not like that, but that's how it is. I understand.
No, that is not how it is. That's just how you think it is. That is not at all how it is. That's how it is in Xeno world. In Xenoland, that's how it is. Oh, you want to watch cutscenes? Go play the trust. Oh no, I'm not going to play the trust. I want to be the part with actual players. You want to watch the story? Go play a trust. Go play by yourself. Parties are for players who rush the content, not for people who actually want to enjoy the story and the content.
My argument applies to me. That is literally why I said that if I just go, I'm not going to get upset if they want to kick me. Like, are you guys not listening to me? Some of you are just...
Oh no, we're listening to you. We just don't agree with your shit ass take. Trust me, we heard you.
So close-minded and such pussy mentality, man.
Oh my God. I know this motherfucker did not really just say that the chat is close-minded. Do you, like, you asked us if we hear you. Do you hear you, Xeno? Do you actually hear what you're saying? We're close-minded, yet you're the motherfucker who doesn't want to wait on people to watch a 2-minute cutscene. You're the person who expects people to skip scenes just to appease you. But we're the close-minded group. Okay. My apologies.
No, let them watch the cutscene. No, everyone deserves to watch the cutscene. Dude, they literally put a system in the game to where if you want to do that on your own, you can. How can some of you even say to not use the trust? Sometimes I'll use...
Because the trust system is slower. It doesn't give you as much experience as running with an actual party. Like, how do you not know this? Unless you yourself don't use the trust system as often as you like to admit, as often you're trying to say. Because I've used a trust system. The experience gain is slower. In fact, if I remember correctly, they even stated as much when they implemented the system, that you would not gain as much experience from doing the trust dungeons as you would from running an actual party. It was just something to help mitigate dungeon queues, like long dungeon queues. That was the real reason for the trust system. It wasn't so that you can watch the story at a slower pace. That was part of it. But the other reason why the trust system was implemented was to ease dungeon queues. Because you have long dungeon queues, you want to get into this dungeon. Well, now if you can't get into a dungeon with a regular party, you can use a trust system to kind of mitigate that. Which it'll do. It does two things. One, it allows you to advance the story if you're doing the storyline, and two, it allows you to get some experience. You're not going to get the full amount of experience that you would get from running with actual party, but you will still get something. That's why the trust system exists. It's not just for people who want to play a single player experience and just for people who want to watch the cutscenes, Xeno. It's for that purpose too, but it also was implemented to ease the issues surrounding dungeon queues, mainly for DPS. That was that was one of the reasons why the system was implemented.
Use the trust even if I'm just blasting, because the trust are better than some players. If you want to do a single player experience and you do that, that's literally why it's there. You guys can agree with me or not agree with me. It doesn't matter because it's fact. They've literally said this too. If you want a single player experience, do the fucking trust. My point is do not expect everything to go your way unless you...
Right back at you. Stop expecting things to go your way as well. Keep that same energy.
Use the trust. Here's the thing. People go in with the wrong expectations, man. Whenever we do the story on stream, I don't even entertain the idea of going in with random people. Because if I'm going to do the story on stream, I'm going to obviously watch all the cutscenes in a dungeon. So I'm going to use the trust. The only way that I'm not going to use the trust is if you guys go with me. But you guys already know, basically it's a shared mentality going in that I'm going to watch all the cutscenes. And honestly, if you guys just pull the fucking boss, I don't give a shit. I'm not...
It's a shared mentality that when you go into a dungeon with random players, that one or more of those players are going to watch the cutscene. That is also a shared mentality. And as someone who's been playing this game for a number of years, as you have, hell, I've been playing this game for 8 years. I imagine you've been playing this game probably since the very beginning. Maybe, maybe not. I don't fucking know. But I've been playing this game for 8 years. I used to have shit takes with this game too. I used to have the same thought process as you, as not wanting to wait for people to watch cutscenes. I got over that shit. Why you haven't, I don't know. I'm fucking 38. What are you, like in your 40s and you still have this shit mentality? Come on now, grow up, dude. Grow the fuck up.
Not gonna care. I don't care. Just get the fucking dungeon over with. But I typically will use the trust because it creates a better atmosphere for the story, right? Because you're using characters that are in the story. So if I'm gonna watch all the story, then I want to use the trust. Like, I like the trust. So it never even enters my mind that, oh, I want to watch the cutscenes. I better queue up. Who the fuck does that? I want to watch the cutscenes, so let me queue up with random idiots?
It happens all the time. Like, you act like this is somehow a strange phenomenon that never happens except once in a blue moon, where people just completely inconvenience the community at large by wanting to watch a 2-minute cutscene, if it even lasts that long. Most cutscenes last maybe 15, 20 seconds, sometimes 30 in a dungeon. And you're literally making a mountain out of a fucking molehill. Like, or making a mountain out of an anthill. Anthill, molehill, you know what I mean. You know what I'm fucking saying.
What is wrong with you guys?
What's
Normal
wrong with
people?
Nothing. Nothing is wrong with us.
No. Let me ask you guys a question.
Like, one person even said in chat, it's very standard. And that person is absolutely right. It is very standard for us to be able to watch a cutscene, like 1 or 2 players in a dungeon per like, and this usually happens, like I said. And a matter of fact, it doesn't even happen like every dungeon run. Like, I can run the same dungeon numerous times and not run into a player that has run that dungeon that has never run that dungeon. Like, I might run a dungeon about 5 times straight and not run into a new player, right? But then there'll be that 6th dungeon run. I'll get a new player in there that hasn't run that dungeon before, and they want to watch the cutscene. Okay, let them watch it. It's not a big deal. The cutscene will be over in about 10, 15 seconds. Maybe a little bit longer if it's like the beginning when they're doing like the beginning intro of a dungeon. Like that usually takes like 20, 30 seconds. And after that, you're done.
Why don't you use the trust? You guys are severely over exaggerating how slow trusts are. Like, I feel like there's this huge misconception where the trust you take like an hour. And that's not even true.
And yet still, he defends the trust system so much, yet he himself is not willing to do it when he gets frustrated, but he wants to get frustrated about the people who want to watch cutscenes in a regular dungeon. But he himself doesn't want to do trust. He would rather them do the trust system while sitting there saying it's not that slow. Okay, well then you do the trust system. And you know why I think that, you want to know why I think he's doing that? Because he knows that the trust system has a lower experience gain than running a standard dungeon. He knows this. He says it's not that much different to clear it. Okay, that may be true. It may not be that much slower to clear a trust dungeon as opposed to a regular dungeon, but the experience gain is lower. That much is undisputed. You have a lower experience gain running a trust dungeon than you do a regular dungeon. So why would anybody want to get their experience gain? I know I don't.
And also, dude, the trust rarely fucking wipe. Like, rarely. I have never wiped on, like, using the trust. I've done the trust without tank. Some of you in chat are severely over-exaggerating how bad the trusts are. The trusts are better than some players. I'm not even kidding. Like, that's sad to hear, but it's true. The thing is, if you go in a pug, you have to expect that things are not going to go your way. Just like with this example, right? So I'm just going to play how I play. And if they don't like it, that's fine. That's totally fine. They have the right to kick me. They have the right to, like, if it's outnumbered 3-1, then I get kicked and I queue up again. But my point is expecting players to warp the way they play to fit your needs is idiotic.
And yet, even though he says I play the way I play, if they kick me. Again, that just reinforces my previous statement of you not being a team player. You have one speed, one mentality, one goal to do things your way. I have goals too. I have a speed as well, but I do adjust that speed and mentality to fit the needs of the party. Just because I don't like the fact that the party goes and watches a cutscene doesn't mean I'm going to get my pains up in the wad, or it doesn't mean that I'm going to continue to play the way I want to play and risk getting booted out of the party and then have to queue up again. That's just stupid on my end. Why would I want to get myself kicked from a party just because I don't want to adjust how I play? I don't want to have to adjust for the party, but at the same time, kind of expect the party to adjust for me. Because even though you say, "Oh, I'm not expecting them to adjust for me," well, you kind of are, because you're wanting them to skip cutscenes. So you're expecting them to adjust for you and your play style, but you're not willing to adjust for them and their play style, especially when it's a majority vote. You have the majority of the party that doesn't mind what they're doing, that doesn't mind watching the cutscenes, but the sole player, does mind, and you want them to change that for you. You may not vocalize that, but you're here ranting about it, so apparently it bothers you. So you do expect people to change for you. But you're not willing to do the same for your party. So again, you're not a team player.
Bald bitch attitude, little bald bitch attitude. So either they help you or they can ignore you and you waste everyone's time. You're basically forcing them to. No, because I can make that argument too. They're wasting my time by watching the cutscene. There's a clash.
Yes, they're wasting 30 seconds to potentially a minute of your fucking time watching a cutscene. Yes, so much of your time is being wasted, Xeno. So much of your time is being wasted. It must really suck to be you sometimes. Damn, bro.
They want to do something one way, I want to do something another way. How you resolve that clash depends on the group. They can either kick me, which is fine, like I'm not going to hold it personal, or they can just go in there and do it. If two people watching the cutscene,
or you could just not make a big deal about a non-issue and just wait the time, just wait the few seconds out, and then go through as a group and complete the damn dungeon. I think Brooklyn will say best. You do the trust. I won't do the trust. Just like what I said. You want everybody else to do the trust, but you yourself don't really want to do the trust. So you would rather everyone else adhere to your bullshit and do the trust so they can watch a 30-second cutscene, just so you don't have to deal with them watching a 30-second cutscene. Like the entitlement, the entitled. I don't even think he realizes how entitled he sounds in some of the things that he's saying regarding this non-issue.
Okay, the thing is, it doesn't matter. You're missing the point here. It doesn't matter if I'm outnumbered. What matters is those players having the mentality that everybody should do that. Like,
they don't have the mentality that everybody should do that. You have the mentality that everybody shouldn't do that when you're in the party. That's the point you're missing. No one in that party had the mentality that everybody should watch the cutscene. No. They simply had the mentality that it wasn't a big deal. Their issue was you rushing ahead instead of waiting for your party. Because like I said before, you're not a team player. It's clear as day you're not a team player, which is really funny to me because you play tank, which is the most team-oriented class in the game. Like, their whole purpose is to be a team player.
that is the problem. That's the issue. When there is a system in the game that literally allows you to do that. Why don't I play trust though? No, I do play trust, but I couldn't do the trust again because you can only do the trust once, right? Like through the story, you have to like level up your trust, right? Or did they change that? Oh, I could.
And see, that's the part I didn't understand. Is like you can only do the trust once through the story. I'm like, since when was that a thing? I never knew that to be a thing. Like, because like even in Endwalker, if I wanted to run a trust, I could just run a trust. I've never had an issue running a trust more than once. So I don't even know what the hell he was talking about with that one. Maybe when trust was first implemented, that might have been a thing. But I've never had an issue running trust a second time, or even a third or fourth. I never had an issue running multiple trusts. I just noticed that it wasn't very quick when it came to experience gain, but I've never had an issue running trust more than once. So I really didn't understand his take with that one.
Could do it again. Duty support is unlimited. We're going to stop talking about this, man, because some of you in chat are really stupid. Okay, so we're just going to leave it at this.
And that right there is just, he thinks everybody's stupid because everyone generally has the same opinion. So because everyone has generally the same opinion that does not align with his, we're stupid.
Man, all right. I didn't know they changed it. Okay, so that was my mistake. Because trust me, if I would have known that they would have changed it, I would not have fucking queued in as Dark Knight on a pug dungeon. Dude, that was the most miserable pile of shit ever. So that's my mistake. But my point still stands. Actually, my point is strengthened now because I learned that you can do this. If I would have known you can do this, then I wouldn't have ever queued in. I just would have went in with the fucking trust, man. If you want to play your way, then you need to use the trust. That's my point. If you want to play your way and only your way, then you need to use a trust.
And once again, he contradicts himself trying to defend himself. You heard him. You heard him. If you want to play your way, you need to use a trust. So Xeno, if you want to play your way and you want to go gung ho and you don't want to have to worry about cutscenes, you need to use a trust too. Stop telling everybody to do shit that you should probably be doing your damn self. You want to play your way. You don't want to adjust for anybody else in your party. So play the trust.
That's it.
Thank God. His whole argument again with the trust system and the party and whatnot, that was such a shit take. I'm sorry, Xeno. Like I said, I watch your content. I like you, dude. Like, I really do like you. I like your content. I've been subscribed to you for quite a while, but this was a shit take from you. And the fact that your own community doesn't agree with you should tell you something. But yeah, wow. Man, that was such a shit take. Like, again, there were certain things I agreed with, though. There were certain things I agreed with. That that right there wasn't among them. Now let me find out about this. Let me find. There was another video I wanted to talk about this episode. It was the healer strike. It's actually a guy who's actually just being funny about it. See if I can find the video. Let's see. Healer strike is stupid. That's basically what the person said. The healer strike is stupid. Ah, here it is. Myth. Now, Myth is an odd character, mainly because this dude talks like he's on speed. Like, this person is just, he's fast. Like, he always talks so freaking quick, and I could just never keep up with him. I swear to God. All right.
Hi, hello. Don't worry.
All right. So we're gonna look at this video next, and I'm gonna give my takes about this one. This one will be a little bit more like. Actually, no, it won't be. I don't know why I'm about to tell that lie. But this one, I have a story to tell in regards to this strike that I experienced literally on day one. Like, I'm so serious. Day one of early access, I had, I guess, sort of an experience with with the healer strike in a way that it was so ridiculous. It actually kind of infuriated me. But let's watch the video, and I'll get into it as I feel it becomes more relevant.
I haven't gotten rid of the coming up sign. It's right there. Now I know you're probably thinking, wait, another fourth wall break? Who does this Brit think he is? Deadpool? I wish. But no, just here to provide a brief disclaimer. The following video has been through several versions, and I've given this one the golden ticket, having removed the specific mention of individuals I was ultimately responding to. But don't worry, most people will guess them within the first 3 minutes. I just want to reiterate, this is not a video with intent to bully, so don't use it as such. This is simply a response to the entitled who's and whatsits on the healer strike who have walked into a cinema, disliked the film that was playing, and rather than leave, they are nonsensically demanding the film is changed. Enjoy. How's it going, Warriors Alike? I'm If, the most offensive ladderfell on the internet, and today we're being a little naughty. It's been a while since I pulled the gloves off to bare knuckle a Dunkluck, but having seen this everywhere now, I feel it's only necessary. It's not bullying if it's constructive criticism after all, and oh boy do I like to criticize, specifically hypocrisy, but sometimes I just like
Yeah, I could kind of get down with you on that one.
to poke my head where I don't belong to ruffle a few feathers, or perhaps catty-womp myself into a little fisticuffs. Now, if you haven't guessed it already, I'm about to launch an indiscriminate attack on this bloody healer strike. Why? Because it's dumb and irrelevant, built on arguments with foundations made of paper, and wholly illogical, and also because I haven't been accused of rage bait in a while, and this is...
Yeah, I don't know too much about the healer strike. Like, basically, what brought the whole healer strike to my attention in the first place had to do with Xeno. Kind of. I think it really didn't have to do with Xeno specifically. It was more or less a video he posted of him clearing a dungeon without a healer using his warrior. And that kind of was like I think that's kind of like the tipping point of what drove a select few healers over the edge. Because, like, they were already boiling over anyway. From what I understand, like, there's been problems with healers for a couple years now. But it's not just healers. And that's part of the problem with their strike and their argument in general, is that the issues that they're detailing with healers are not specific or unique to healers, but rather to all the classes in Final Fantasy 14. Like, all the classes are suffering forms of homogenization. It's not just healers. You know what I'm saying? So them bitching and complaining about their job is like you're essentially just kind of glossing over the rest of the jobs that are going through similar shit. Like, again, you're not special. But we'll get into that in a minute. But no, he did a dungeon run. He cleared the dungeon with his group. I watched part of it. I didn't watch all of it. But he basically cleared it with no healer. Healers got pissed. And like I said, this is kind of like the tipping points. It started a quote unquote strike, which I don't know what the hell they're striking. And actually, I'll go ahead and get to my story about the strike. Actually, no, I'll wait just a little bit longer because I think he's going to say something during the video that kind of allows me to segue into that story a bit and makes it a little bit more makes the story a little bit more relevant to what he's saying. But let's get back to this video.
Baitier bit than a YouTube apology video. And yes, I promise I will try to keep it slow and understandable for those not invaded by Vikings first. First, a little background. Healers have always been a crucial part of Final Fantasy XIV, fighting to keep Jerry's alive through the toughest of battles. However, the Dawntrail expansion has allegedly simplified the healer role, making it about as engaging as a Russell Brand political preach. This frustration has led to the Tiddlywomps throwing their toys out the pram and going on strike, refusing to queue for duties, with their main demands being more required healing.
Okay. This part right here is where I can kind of get into it. We're saying they're refusing to queue for dungeons and whatnot. Now, when Dawntrail came out for early access, I jumped in obviously because I had pre-ordered it. I'm playing through the game. I made the mistake of playing Viper. Hell, it wouldn't matter if I played Viper or Pythomancer. They're both DPS roles. But I made the mistake of playing a DPS role, trying to get into a dungeon to level up. It went about as well as you'd expect. Now, the other option to doing that is using Party Finder. This is where my feathers got ruffled and where I started to get pissed. This is actually where I got very, very angry. There were healers, like, you basically couldn't get into a party in queue without having to wait for probably an hour plus, an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours to get into a dungeon. Like, the queue for, you probably had like maybe like a 2 hour queue for a dungeon, right? Yet you had healers in Party Finder charging money per dungeon run to basically queue up to queue up the new DPS classes. So there was healers that are literally sitting in Party Finder charging 500. They're charging maybe 100k gil or 500k gil. And sure, it's not, maybe that's not a lot to some players. Me, I'm broke, and even if I wasn't, it's still stupid. Like, you're charging literally upwards of 500k gil a dungeon run just so somebody can have a healer in their party when you could just queue up with the rest of them and help people. Like, really? You're now charging us for your services? And that just really rubbed me the wrong way. Because, like, it's bad enough you guys are having a strike that most of us don't even agree with because we just think you're fucking stupid for doing it in the first place. Not to mention, there's not nearly enough of you that are going to do this strike for it to actually carry any weight. Granted, the strike did bring up a conversation, in the tune of what the healers are going through, but it also brought up the same conversation of, you're not the only person affected by the homogenization bullshit. We are all affected. So it's not just you. But that was my story about that, and I just really think it was dumb. I'm glad I don't see it anymore. But that day one, it was ridiculous what healers were doing.
a more diverse DPS rotation, and less job homogenization. Now, my first approach to this video was to take some of the more popular tweets and Reddit posts and tear them apart like a fly earth statement. But I felt a little too close to bullying, considering that even if I censored the name, someone could research the post word for word and still find them. Not saying you guys would, but I'm a considerate little butterfly, you know? But honestly, it largely doesn't matter. Checking the post histories of the main players in this shambolic display of poppycock, what do you find? Well, the obvious. Older posts complaining about nothing and no one synergizing well, and then recent posts complaining about the 2-minute meta. I think that qualifies them as the politically correct term. Oh wait, yeah, fucking stupid. And no surprise there, some people only know how to complain, and this really is a dumb approach. First, the impact.
Wait, what impact?
Exactly, have a cookie, kind sir.
Is that?
And that's pretty much what I was saying earlier. Like, how you doing, Alessia? But that pretty much goes right back to what I was saying, that this strike didn't make a whole lot of sense. Like, I get why healers are frustrated. Like, there's no doubt about that. I understand why they're frustrated. Hell, we're all frustrated. And that's another thing that really bothered me, is the fact that healers are frustrated about their job losing mechanics or not feeling as important. Well, whereas a lot of us are, especially the DPS community, some of us are frustrated that either mechanics get taken away from classes that they shouldn't get taken away from, or we're just basically all feeling like the same. A lot of the classes are losing their identity and starting to feel like the same class, but just basically a different weapon. And I'm watching a video on Final Fantasy 14 and the healer strike. I actually watched another video that you actually missed it. I did a reaction to one of Xeno's videos in his dungeon run, but he also had a really bad take of what he thinks other players should do. Because, like, basically what it boiled down to is the party essentially abandoned the dungeon with him because he was running through the dungeon as a tank. He wasn't paying attention to chat, and then they got mad at him because he rushed forward while they were watching a cutscene for the dungeon. He doesn't like watching cutscenes. He feels like if you want to watch a cutscene, that you should go use a trust system. Now, not only did I disagree with that take, but his own chats disagreed with that take. And he went back and forth with chat, is trying to explain himself, saying, no, if you want to watch the cutscene, you need to go do the trust of the dot. And I'm like, bro, keep that same energy. Like, that same issue, that same thing applies to you. Because he's like, you say you shouldn't go into a dungeon expecting people to adhere to your bullshit. And I'm like, well, Xeno, that applies to you too. Like, you shouldn't go to a dungeon expecting people to adhere to your bullshit. Just because you don't want to watch a cutscene doesn't mean they shouldn't be able to watch it. And you telling them to go to the trust, well, if you hate, being in a party with people who like watching cutscenes so much, then you yourself should go to the trust system and go to the dungeon so you don't have to watch the cutscenes. It's the same energy, but he won't keep that same energy when the argument is reversed. He only wants the argument to go one way. And even most of his chat wasn't agreeing with him on this take. So it's like, yeah, dude. And then he was getting mad at chat. He's like, guys, we're gonna stop talking about this because some of y'all are just stupid. And I'm like, so the majority of chat doesn't agree with your take, so there's the ones that are stupid because you had a shit take. Like, really? I just found that kind of funny. So now I'm watching this one about the healer strike. That, yeah, it didn't make a lot of sense on his end. And like I said, and I like the guy. I'm subscribed to him. I watch a lot of his content. He's a funny guy, but he does have bad takes, and this is just one of those bad takes that he just wasn't willing to admit to. Like, the things he was saying essentially applied to him as well, but he was only willing to look at it from one perspective. And basically what it boiled down to, basically what I got from him is that he's not a team player. That's just pretty much what I got from him by, through his explanation and his logic, is that he's not really a team player when it comes to running dungeons. He wants to run dungeons one way, one speed, one mentality. And when you're running with other players, you can't be that way. I mean, you can, but there's a good chance that you're going to get kicked. And he even said to himself, like, if I get kicked, I get kicked, but I'm gonna do things my way. I'm like, I can't imagine that you run with a lot of people with that mentality unless it's the people that have the same mentality of you of wanting to run through a dungeon as quickly as possible. But when you're running with randoms, not everybody's going to be like that. I run with a lot of randoms. Hell, I mostly run with randoms whenever I play Final Fantasy 14, and most like I say probably every 3, 4, maybe even 5 dungeons, I get into a party where 1 or 2 players watches the cutscene that I've already seen in that dungeon because it's their first time running it. I'm not going to get butthurt, having to wait, 20, 30 seconds for a cutscene. In most cases, the cutscenes are over in like 15, like 10 or like 15 seconds at the most. Usually about 15, 20 seconds, the cutscene's over. Like the longest cutscene is usually at the beginning of a dungeon because it's introducing the dungeon. So you might spend 30 seconds on the introduction. It's basically showing you the area, showing you some of the enemies, and it's basically just give you that introduction. Boom, 30 seconds in, you're ready to go. Usually when you get to the boss fight, unless there's like some dialogue, even the beginning dungeon, like unless there's like an actual dialogue between the characters and the dungeon they're about to go to, the introduction is usually about 30 seconds at most. And then the introduction to the boss is usually about 15 to 20 seconds. It's not a long period of time. So at most, you may spend a minute or 2 in total watching cutscenes from the beginning to the end. And it's only the one time. He was getting butthurt because these people wanted to watch cutscene and then they got mad at him because he wasn't paying attention to chat. So they got mad at him. And there was kind of wrong on both sides. Because let's see, for instance, one guy got mad at him, so he didn't want to basically run a dungeon with him anymore because of his attitude. Xeno never said anything to the party the entire time he ran the dungeon. He wasn't looking at chat. He wasn't even paying attention. He said he didn't even have chat up. So he wasn't paying any attention to the chat. So it's like, how can you say that he has an attitude when he hasn't said a word to you? Now you might anticipate an attitude because of the fact that he's not saying anything, but just because he's not talking doesn't mean he has an attitude. He just might not be the talkative type. Hell, I don't even talk very much when I run dungeons. Like when I run a dungeon, I'm there for one purpose: to get experience and or gear. That's it. Well, the funny thing about it is Xeno has a huge following. He's a very well known Twitch streamer for in the Final Fantasy community. Like he's been playing Final Fantasy 14 for quite a while, so he has his following. It's just a fact. Yeah, he's a way bigger creator than me. He's been on this platform for a minute. Him and Zeppela both are well known Final Fantasy 14 Twitch streamers. So it's not like this is some random guy on the internet just making a video on YouTube and just just bitching for the sake of bitching. No, he's a pretty big streamer. It's just the fact that I seen that video and I was like, I have to react to this because I'm part of that same community. I'm part of the Final Fantasy community. I've been playing Final Fantasy 14 for 8 years. So I have experience in the conversation. I have a foot in the race, I care, like my words carry a little bit of weight because I do know what I'm talking about. I mean, yeah, and I can understand that. Like I said, I don't like the attitude either. And the thing is, another reason why I reacted to it because I used to think a lot like Xeno a few years back. I used to have the same mentality where I didn't like waiting on people who wanted to watch cutscenes, and I detailed that earlier in the stream for this episode, how I used to rush ahead. Like if I was running, like for instance, if I had somebody that was tanking. And I'm the kind of tank, like I play tank. I like to grab the entire room. Well, I was raised with respect first off, and secondly, I've also had moments in my life where I've made bad choices or I've said the wrong thing. It just been, for lack of a better word, an asshole. I am kind of an asshole, but I tend to call myself an asshole with a purpose. Like I'm not generally an asshole to people that don't deserve it. If I'm an asshole to you, there's probably a reason. Because I don't just come off as an asshole to anybody I meet, whether it's on stream or in person. If I meet you for the first time, I'm not going to be an asshole off rip. I'm just not going to. There's no reason for me to. But if you give me a reason to be one, you get what you get. You know, you've never given me a reason to come at you, sideways. So I've never had to come at you sideways. You know, it's simple to me. But like with Xeno, again, when he was talking about his experience, there's some parts of it I could agree with him on, but there's other parts I just couldn't. Like again, with his whole take of not wanting to wait on people to watch a cutscene, I had the same mentality years ago. Like I said, when I used to run daily roulettes, we still have them. They've changed a lot though, but back then, years ago, probably about I want to say probably about 5-6 years ago, it used to be whenever you did a daily roulette, the main scenario roulette, you could skip the cutscenes because they were so long. Because in that roulette, it's basically like the last two main scenario quests for A Realm Reborn. Those are the only two ones you'll do in main scenario. Well, like I said, in both those scenarios, the cutscenes are long. Like and there's multiple cutscenes throughout the whole dungeon. So you'll go through the dungeon and you'll probably do like maybe you'll probably watch about 4 or 5 of them. Each one lasts about 3 to 5 minutes a piece. So you're probably going to spend it. So running that whole dungeon, especially the last one, the last main scenario, that one, no lie, takes close to an hour to complete. From start to finish, it'll take you close to an hour to complete it. And that's with everybody blazing through the boss fights and whatnot. It'll still take you at least about 40-45 minutes at the very least to complete that dungeon. Because of the cutscenes alone. Because they make up the bulk of it. They make up at least about half the runtime. If we could skip the cutscenes, we could probably clear that in like 25 minutes. But because we can't, it adds about another 20 to 25. It adds about another 20 minutes at least to the total runtime. But when we could skip them years ago, I used to basically get mad at people that sat there and watched them because I had already run this dungeon like, I don't know, 50 plus times, like 50 to 100 times at that, during that point. So I was already tired of going through this dungeon, but I was doing it because the experience game was so good. And actually, it was good then. It's way better now because of the fact that they make you watch the cutscene. But back then, it was still good experience game. But you had to sit there and watch the cutscenes or wait for somebody who was watching the cutscenes. And I'd be like, yo, dude, just skip it. We ready to go. I want to get through this. I've already run this dungeon like so many times. I'm tired of being here. And they're like, but I haven't seen it before. I'm like, watch YouTube. Like that was literally my response back then. Like, just watch it on YouTube. I was an asshole. I was irritating. She always do. I don't find you irritating. Like you, and I also look at it like this. Like even on the times that you were a tad bit pushy on our dealings and whatnot, it's because you're trying to make a living. So it's understandable. I'm not going to get irritated with that. Like it might be a mild annoyance because of my situation, but I understand why you're doing it. So I can't really get irritated with that. Right. Like I said, I understand back then. So like I said, I don't get irritated with it because I understand why you're doing it. Like I said, just like me trying to build a following and make money on here, you're trying to do the same thing. You're trying to make a living. I'm trying to make a living. So I can't really hate the hustle when I'm basically when I'm hustling just as much as you are in my own way. We're both trying to hustle. We're just doing it in different ways. And that's like I said, that's what I had to learn, back then years ago. And again, I'm 38 now. I was in my early 30s, or actually no, I was probably like I was probably in my early 30s back then. It just did. Right. And and I appreciate that. But yeah, I had to learn, like I said years ago, that you can't be like that because everyone's different. Just because you've gone through the game and you've already watched certain things doesn't mean everybody that comes around you has as well. And that was the thing. Is like other players are coming through. They haven't watched these cutscenes. This is their first time. So I'm getting mad about them having the first time experiencing this content when I too was a first timer experiencing the content. And I also had to look at the fact that when I was also watching this content for the first time, I had people doing that to me. And I didn't even think about that at the time. Is I also had players that would do that to me that would tell me to skip the cutscene. So I'm literally becoming those players. So the same players that I got irritated with for trying to rush me, I'm becoming the same players that I was irritated with. So I had to take a step back and say, "Hey, I need to chill out because these players are now me, or these players are who I was when I first started playing, and now I'm becoming the players that I didn't like when I was new to the game, and I can't be like that." So that's why I got so irritated when I was doing my commentary on Xeno's video. I actually started to get pissed at one point in time, literally earlier in the stream. I actually started to get a little pissed with his take because he's so narrow minded in his viewpoint, and then he even went the extra mile of calling his own chat narrow minded. And I'm like, bro, how can you sit there and say that when you're the person beat with a narrow minded view? You're not willing to adjust for your party. Instead, you would much rather your party adjust for you and run at your speed, your tempo, but you're not willing to do that for them. And somebody in his chat even said, he said, but what if it's day one? And he said, I don't give a fuck if it's day one content. Like he doesn't even care if it's the day the game launches, which is basically when a lot of people were playing. Because like I said, I played on day one, but he doesn't even care if it's the day the game launches. He doesn't want people watching cutscenes. He doesn't want people watching cutscenes when he is around. If he's in the party, he does not want you to watch a cutscene. He wants you to go to the trust system and run a trust dungeon so that you can watch a cutscene. But if he's in your party, he doesn't want to watch. He doesn't want to sit and wait for you to watch a cutscene. And I did not agree with that take. I thought that was a very, very shit take. And I still got to post episodes 1 and 2 to not Facebook. I don't use Facebook anymore. After I finish this episode, I'm going to download it because I still got to post both episode 1 and 2 of the segment to YouTube, so I can actually start getting videos on my YouTube channel. But I may have to freaking compress it. I have to see how that even works because I want to download episode 1 and 2 off of here, off of Twitch, and holy crap, like I think episode 1 was I think episode 1 was almost 10 gig. Like the video file was almost 10 gigs, and then episode 2 was like 5 gigs, which I'm still trying to figure out how one was so much larger. Well, actually, I did stream I think I did. That episode was like probably about 3 hours long. This episode was like maybe 2 hours, or episode 2 was like maybe a little over 2 hours. And this episode, there's no telling. And I don't know what the hell's going on with my camera, but it is really pissing me off. But yeah. But I'll download this episode and then I gotta post it. So I'll basically just have 3 episodes posted back to back on YouTube. So I'll just have episode 1 through 3 posted, and then what's today? Tuesday. So tomorrow's gonna be game day. So episode 4 will be posted Thursday. So episode 4 will go live Thursday, and then episode 5 will be Saturday. So yeah, but yeah, I just didn't agree with this take because, like I said, I used to have a similar mentality when I was younger, and now that I've gotten older, I've kind of changed my thought process, and it seems like he's just kind of stuck in his ways, and he's not willing to see the other side of the argument because it's not convenient for him, and I don't agree with that. And while I do enjoy his content, I do like a lot of things that he does in his for the community and in his streams. Um, if he has a shit take, I'm going to say so, and he definitely had a shit take. uh, but that being said, I'm going to continue with this video because this one is about the healer strike, and I've had my own sort of experience with this healer strike, which is I agree it is very dumb. I understand why the healers are mad, but the way they've gone about it is where I disagree with them. And that was actually shown off on the first day of the early access, where they were charging players money to have them in their party. Like one healer was charging 500k gil a dungeon run, not just for like an hour, like for a while, or for for however long they needed. No, they were charging 500k per dungeon, and I'm like, oh hell no! Considering how many dungeons these players will have to do just to gain one level, and you're charging them 500k per level or per dungeon run rather. One of them I think was actually charging I think per level, but another one was charging literally per dungeon. And that person was charging the most, like 500k, and I thought that was just ridiculous. That was outrageous, and it just made me so upset when I saw that, because I was one of those freaking those DPS characters that was needing a healer or a tank just to get into a dungeon. And I'm like, there's no way in hell I'm freaking paying you guys freaking this kind of money. First off, I barely had it because I was broke. I spent all my money on glamour. I had my character to look as cool as possible. And secondly, even if I did have the money, no. No. But here's the continuation of what he used of this video.
That how I get paid? Well, it's better than nothing.
Sorry, but I like to reuse voice actors. Yeah, I did get that email on environmentally friendly ways of getting rid of them. You see, I hate to point out the obvious. Wait, no I don't. That shit's like crack to me. Final Fantasy XIV is incredibly popular, and even if a portion of healers strike, it's unlikely to cause significant delays in dungeon queues.
Yeah, that is true, because as far as I know, the healer strike is still ongoing, although I haven't checked lately, but I think it still is ongoing to an extent. But like you said, it's not going to affect much. The only reason why dungeon queues were as excessive as they were during the early access period is because, one, it's early access, two new DPS classes came out, and three, every time a new expansion releases and a DPS character is released, everybody and their grandmother jumps on that new DPS class, which means DPS queues are going to be dungeon queues are going to be insanely high, because everybody's playing the new DPS class and very few people are playing tank and healer. So unless you yourself are playing tank or healer, you're going to be sitting there for an hour plus waiting to queue up for a dungeon, if not longer. Whereas if you play tank or healer, honestly, if I'm being perfectly honest, the best time to be a tank and a healer is at the launch of a new expansion for this game. That is truly the best time to be a tank or a healer, because it's almost guaranteed they're going to release a DPS class every expansion. It's pretty much guaranteed at this point. Every so often they kind of take a different route, but not to that 10. They will always they'll either release they're always going to release usually two classes. It's usually going to be a DPS or a healer, or a DPS and a tank. But there's always guaranteed to be at least one DPS. At least one DPS will get released every expansion. The second class is always up for grabs. It's either going to be tank or healer. And sometimes it'll be another DPS. Like in this expansion, it's two DPSs. But there's always at least one DPS gets released. And again, everybody and their mother plays at DPS. And dungeon queues, high as hell. Which means tanks and healers become they become VIPs. Like they literally become VIPs when it comes to dungeon queues. You run as a tank or a healer. The moment you press the moment you basically press Q, that dungeon's gonna pop. Like just done. As soon as you press Q up, you're in. Because you've got a plethora of brand new DPS classes just waiting on you. It's hilarious. So I need to start doing that more often. Just the fact that I wanted to play the new class like everybody else, and I suffered like everybody else, except for the people who already had pre-made parties, which I don't have a lot of friends on these games, so I never really have that advantage. And even my guild is just kind of like, eh. Like I hardly even talk to my guild because they're always fucking off doing their own thing, or there's not many people on. I really, honestly, I really should just join another guild. Like I like my FC, but in terms of the goals that I had, in terms of things that I would actually like to accomplish in the game that I've never been able to accomplish, really, I'm probably better off just joining another guild. I should really give that some thought. But anyway, let's continue.
Plus, with the duty support system, players can use NPCs for most content, reducing the strike's potential impact. The only real impact of this strike is that the vocal minority find out they are in fact the vocal minority, and then of course spit out their dummies and fall back into the elitist spirals of yesteryear.
That is very true. They are a vocal minority, and like you said, the only thing they really accomplish is finding out that they truly are a vocal minority, because with all the supposed efforts and their manifesto, which I was like, wait, what? They actually what? I was so surprised when I heard that, like, they actually wrote a manifesto. I was like, oh my Jesus. But yeah, they actually went the extra mile, and then it's funny because the funny part about this whole thing too, right? They went through this trouble of announcing a strike. Xeno actually went and interviewed the people, doing the strike. And guess what? It was like all of 5 people. Like, he interviewed the people in the strike, and it was a total of 5 people. Now, I don't know if there was more people that are supposed to be in this supposed strike, but only 5 agreed to only like 5 of them agreed to talk to him. And granted, and mind you, it was a good conversation they had. They actually did address some of their points, and I'll give them credit. The people that spoke with Xeno, I feel like they actually made some fair points, and they seemed pretty sensible. So, yeah, they actually did seem pretty sensible for the most part. At least when they were talking with Xeno. So I could see their side of the argument. Now, I still don't necessarily agree with their execution, and Xeno even said himself that he thinks that they should be free to express themselves as they will, as long as it doesn't affect anybody, as long as it doesn't hurt anybody, then there's no problem with it, and I agree with that. If you feel you should express yourself through a strike, hey, do it, as long as it's not hurting anybody. Do what you will. However, the execution, which is the strike itself, I don't really agree with, because I don't feel like it's going to accomplish much of anything. If anything, it will just create, if anything, best case scenario, it'll strike up conversation. Worst case scenario, it would create animosity towards your class. It would create animosity towards the role. And that's what we don't want. We want a conversation to see if we can find a solution. That's what we do want. What we don't want is animosity towards the job role that will make people even less likely to even want to deal with healers. That's what we don't want. So, let's continue.
Reddit tier slurs like Normie and treating casual players like they're somehow beneath them. I haven't seen this big an ego problem on someone since fucking Desolence. Thanks, Xenos. That was over 6 hours of video. I do not regret watching. God, I hate drama. But I love watching and reading about it. It's like the first time I introduced myself to the couple I've been watching having sex from a tree 400 yards away. Hi there. Long time watcher. First time breaking in. Actually, the screaming kind of makes sense now. But I digress. Second, it feels premature. The strike is happening early in the Doncho life cycle. Yoshi P has acknowledged the player feedback and has committed to dressing job design in 8.0, with 7.0 being reserved for improving the PvE content and experience. Striking now because someone completed
Which is actually pretty good. That's actually good. I didn't even pay attention to that part. But yeah, focusing on PvE content is definitely a plus, because the PvE content does feel better this expansion. Dungeons actually feel really good. Fates are basically fates. I mean, fates are fun, but the dungeons do feel good. I did at least one trial fight, and it was actually a really good fight. I enjoy it. So I'm looking forward to actually getting through the game so I can get to the extreme trial. I think we do have at least one extreme trial, and I think we have a raid. I don't know. I'm level 100 with one character. I'm level 98 with another, and my samurai is level 93. But I'm at the level 98 quest line, so I'm almost done with the quest to get to the end of the game. So I'm trying my best to get to the storyline, but at the same time, I kind of got derailed because after I got off stream last night, I went and played some more Final Fantasy, and I was playing with Viper, because I went ahead and got Viper to level 100 and got him done earlier this morning. And then I turned around and started playing, or I saw Samurai, and I saw level 100 Samurai, and he was wearing his job class outfit for this expansion. Man, that outfit looks banging. Oh man, the drip was so spectacular. As soon as I seen the outfit, I was like, wait, is this what I think it is? And I looked at it, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm getting this. I'm getting his outfit. I'm getting him. He's my next level 100, because I was going to level up Warrior, because my Warrior is 98. Viper hit 100 already. Warrior is 98, so I only had 2 more levels to go before he's done. And then I seen the Samurai's outfit, and I was like, sorry, Warrior. Sorry, Warrior, but Samurai's gonna be number 2. he's gonna be number 2, level 100, and Warrior just has to be number 3. He'll have to deal with it, because that outfit just looks too freaking sick for me to ignore. I can't ignore it. But anyway, let's go back to the video.
The dungeon without a healer, a feat that has almost always been possible in dungeons. Hey look, you can replace the tank and DPS with all healers and finish a dungeon. I guess everyone should go on strike, right? Right? You might be jumping the gun a little there, Jimothy Kimmel Schmidt, the white mage man. Why not smoke some of that blood lily and chill the fuck out? Your incessant screaming is waking the children. Oh, the children are still. God fuck no, what you've done. The least you can do is hit that like button whilst I pacify this little shit screecher. And hey, why not subscribe as well? I'm a veteran trapped in a Lalafel's body looking for a homey sexual experience. And you can give me that and much more by joining the channel and funding my slow descent into madness. I'm teeing up for a bigger media-covered breakdown than Britney Spears, and you're gonna get more than just a pussy flash in a limo when I eventually hit my peak. What happens when you mix DID with chronic unfiltered depression and loneliness? Let's find out.
Oh my. I was not prepared for this motherfucker's potty mouth. And the crazy thing is, I've seen his content before, but I've only seen like maybe 1 or maybe 2 videos from this guy. I think I've only seen like 1 other video from this guy. This is probably like my 2nd or 3rd video watching him, and wow, I was not prepared for that.
Anyways, back to the video. This shit just fuels complete and utter community division. Not that it wouldn't already exist, but this makes it worse and infinitely more polarizing. It's like the existence of cunts who put pineapple on pizza, just deliberately rocking the fucking boat when it's already got a hole in it and all the rugged and have been piled up at the back. Strikes can, will, and fucking have created testicular torsion. Sorry, wrong script. Strikes can, will, and fucking have created tension between different player groups. Some players, judged to be more sane and level-headed, myself included, see this as an overreaction from the children who use macros to say hi and party chat, ironically antisocial fucks they are, which naturally leads to there being virtually no real support for their cause. Now, it's of course virtually impossible to unite the community. We have casual, soft, mid, and hardcore players, all with varying levels of virginity and hygiene to cater to, and things like this tend to emerge from a microcosm of this player base who have nothing better to do than to complain the game is too simple and easy, whilst running add-ons that simplify and let me check my notes real.
That's the thing too. Like, the last time I had any experience with add-ons in an MMO was when I attempted to get into WoW, and I made 2 attempts. WoW just wasn't my cup of tea, so I just didn't care. But I have never put a single add-on on this game. Like, since I've been playing this game, I've been playing this game, like I said, for 8 years. I have never run add-ons in this game, and I probably never will, um, unless I do maybe top or was it DSR? I can't remember if it was top or DSR that everyone was had the biggest issue with. I think it was DSR. I may have to because of how difficult they said that raid was or that ultimate is. But I've never completed a single ultimate. So with me, I probably would have to start from the very beginning and just go all the way back to like the first Savage and everything like that, and run those just to unlock an ultimate and then go from there. So, but we'll see what happens.
Real quick. Ah yes, make things fucking easy. So, what are the alternatives? Here are a few constructive ways these healers can voice their concern. First, and what is apparently the hardest thing to fucking do, provide structured and constructive evidence-based feedback that isn't just screaming in all caps to an echo chamber of the butthurt. Do this through official forums and surveys. Specific, actionable suggestions are more likely to be considered by the developers. And second, patience and engagement is infinitely better than being a cunt not queuing for content, than getting angry that no one notices you not queuing for content. Participate.
Right. Oh, I mean, I noticed it, especially when you're charging money, because that's the other thing too. You want people to care about your role. How about not being a fucking douche and charging players money for your services like you're some sort of freaking healing god? You know what I'm saying? Like, if you're like one of the best healers in the fucking game, I wouldn't pay you for your services. Like, you're not that fucking important, especially in the context of the entire player base. Like all the players make up a community. The entire community is important, and we need to take strides to make every class essentially better. That's what discussions are for. That's what constructive criticism is for. Like, I've criticized the hell out of Dark Knight because it's a class I played, it's a class that I've suffered with, it's a class I enjoy, but used to enjoy. And even then, it was like I mildly enjoyed it, even in Heaven's Ward. But now I don't hate the class. I'm just fed up with the class because of what it lacks. The class just lacks, and it lacks in ways that none of the other tanks do. That's the worst part. Is that it's the only tank class that lacks in its self-sustain, whereas the other three are relatively fine. Even Gunbreaker has better self-sustain than Dark Knight. Paladin is perfectly fine with its self-sustain. Warrior is top tier with self-sustain. Everybody knows this, especially in dungeons. But even when soloing a boss, you're basically fine, and Paladins can solo bosses just fine too. Gunbreaker, I haven't been able to solo a boss with Gunbreaker, but that's more of a skill issue on my end. But with Dark Knight, you can't do it. But like I said, get back on target. Healers need to basically stop acting like they're the only person or they're the only group suffering in this game due to, their role not feeling as important. I mean, there's a couple roles in here. Summoners have complaints about their role. Let's see who else. Monk. Current expansion right now, monks have issues or having issues. Black mage, I mean, black mages are not happy right now, like at all. They are not happy. Let's see who else is going through something. I heard that freaking ninjas are having slight issues with some of the changes that they've had made to them. So you've got at least 4 classes that aren't even healers. 4 classes that aren't even healers that have issues, but healers somehow think they're special. I just listed 4 classes, 3 of which are DPS, 1 of which is a tank. Or actually, no, it'd be 5 if I include a tank, because I said what? Summoner, Black Mage, Monk, Ninja. Yeah, so 5 if I include Dark Knight, the tank. So that's 5 classes that have an issue, 4 of which are DPS. None of them are and those are non-healers. we've got four. So I basically listed four DPS classes. There's only four healers. Now, mind you, there's only four healers in the game. There's four tanks, four healers. I easily listed four DPS classes that are currently having issues. And the healers somehow think they're special because all four of because their class or their role is having issues. And I don't even think the issues apply to all of the healers. It's like maybe a select few. Like I know Astro still has a few issues thanks to them completely reworking his card system when they didn't need to. And I think Scholar has an issue or two as well that they need to address. That needs to be addressed for years because they kind of messed up Scholar. So Scholar and Astro are like the two main healers that basically need a rework, or almost like a rework reversal. White Mage, I think White Mage is fine for the most part, and I think Sage is fine for the most part, I believe. But the other two, they definitely need some work for sure. But again, the healers are acting like it's the end of the world because of the issues that they're having when they're completely neglecting the other jobs in the game that are also having issues.
In upcoming patches and changes. Developers often adjust based on ongoing feedback. Engaging with it actually helps you conduct my first suggestion effectively. Hey, look at that. Maturity works sometimes, kind of. Try it sometimes. Honestly, you'll spend less time hating the universe for putting a Taco Bell close enough to prevent you ever getting a girlfriend or boyfriend. We don't judge here at me writing this script. Now, the few supporters there are for this notion right now, yes, don't worry, I can smell you, argue that strikes bring immediate visibility and pressure on developers. Oh, you don't say? Oof. You must have a shopping list of changes you've successfully pushed through in recent memory, being this bratty then, no? No. But you have. Seriously, let me take you on a journey. You cried about OGCDs not synergizing well, and in response they gave you that synergy in the form of the 2-minute meta, which you now cry about. You cry.
Yeah, people have been crying about the 2-minute meta for a while now. Me personally, I don't run Savage or Ultimates, so I guess for me it doesn't really hit as heavy. Now I want to get into Savage. Like I'll put it like this: I've ran Savage before. I've never completed one, and I've never even made it to an Ultimate. So I can't really speak on the 2-minute meta. Like I know enough about the 2-minute meta to like do, openers and stuff like that, do ultimate or to openers and burst windows and that sort of thing. But I haven't really used it in, I guess you could say like a real world setting, which when I say real world setting, I mean like a Savage and an Ultimate to the extent of having to actually clear it. So I can't really speak on it in that regard. I know a lot of people have complained about the 2-minute meta. Like Xeno, I think has said that I believe he said that he's tired of the 2-minute meta. I believe. I don't quote me on that, so because I don't want to misquote. But I believe he was one of the people who was saying that he was kind of tired of the 2-minute meta. But it is what it is. That's what we have.
Cried about stats like accuracy existing, forcing you into having to slot for it, so they removed it and now you cry stats are too simple. You cried about having to level certain jobs to unlock powerful abilities, so they simplified it and gave you role abilities, which you now cry about. You cried about the existence of TP and how it felt painfully restrictive, so they removed it. Now you complain merely.
That's right, it was called TP, not SP. I was thinking of another RPG when I said SP. Yeah, it really has been a long time since I played back then. Because I thought of I think yesterday's episode I kept saying SP, and if I did, I apologize. It was supposed to be TP. I honestly kind of miss when we had TP because it gave you certain management to your skills in general with your melee classes. Now the way we have it now, there's basically no limit to what you can do with your melee classes outside of the 2-minute meta. But outside of that, like whenever it comes to doing classes, you just use your skills. Unless your skills like has a cooldown, then you basically have no limit, really.
it's too easy. I'm not going to continue, but these are genuine examples of the post histories you can find on Reddit from some of the main players in this stupid debate. These people are not genuine and do not know how to compliment anything. They simply create and propagate friction for everything and anything to feel relevant. Balancing immediate action with long-term constructive engagement is crucial. Change often requires patience and continued
And actually, to add to that, like right now, they're contemplating making changes to Viper, which I definitely touched on that. And was it episode 2 or episode 1? I think no, it was episode 2. I touched on that. I touched on the change that they're making to Viper, and I did not understand it at all and I talked about that. I talked about that extensively, and I even pulled up my own game. I even pulled up my own gameplay. Like I even went in game and showed how Viper is played. Like while I was explaining it in the episode and whatnot, and I literally showed how Viper is being played. Like I went into detail looking at the skills. I read out the skill description, read out the skill name, and explained why it's not difficult to do positionals with Viper, or why it's not difficult to learn positionals with Viper. More importantly, doing them is easy. Learning them is even easier because 4 out of the 6 positionals are labeled for you. So there's really nothing to learn. Really, but that's a whole other conversation that I've already had it. So again, if you want to hear about that in detail, definitely check out episode 2. You can either check it out here on Twitch, or when I post it on YouTube, you can go to my YouTube channel at Black Bufasa 86. YouTube. And I'll have it posted. Like I said, after this episode concludes, I will more than likely go ahead. I've already downloaded episode 1 and 2 off of Twitch, so I just need to post them, or probably edit and then post them to YouTube. And then once I finish this episode as well, I'll go ahead and have this episode downloaded and posted to YouTube as well, so I can have all 3 episodes available on my YouTube channel. So basically, my Let's Talk About It series will be posted to YouTube. My gameplay videos and whatnot, I'll probably just take clips and probably put them on YouTube Shorts, or even put them on TikTok. I have a TikTok, even though I fucking hate TikTok. I have a TikTok. I just need to actually take time to create clips and then post them to TikTok. But yeah, my Let's Talk About It series will definitely be posted to YouTube, and that's primarily what YouTube will probably be used for, is for my Let's Talk About It series, because it just seems like the best place to actually post it, and then that'll actually give me a reason to post videos on YouTube for a change. So, but anyway, let's continue with this and finish the video out.
Dialogue being the key word there. The strike, boycott, and bubbly bullshit helps no one, but it gets a few clicks, and I suppose that's why it's gotten the attention and confirmed the way it has. I'm just tired of seeing points like this being made, yet when you go to these posts, tweets, videos, expecting a point and pounce with evidence, there's none. It's just someone pointing at Xenos 3DPSing a dungeon at the media talk, which is a double dip of derp and disingenuous. Xenos is a pro who plays Final Fantasy XIV for a living, and he did this alongside others with no doubt comparable game time.
And that's another thing that doesn't get enough recognition. Like when the healers got mad at him for running that dungeon with other players with no healer, they didn't take in consideration the fact that, as was stated, Xenos is a pro player. He plays competitively in the sense that he runs Savage. He runs EX Trials. He runs Savage raids. He runs Ultimate raids. He clears ultimates all the time. And he has extensive knowledge about, Savage and Ultimate raids. Like this is a guy that freaking clears them usually within. I think he clears ultimates within the first week of release, if not the second week. But he generally clears an ultimate within I think him and his group usually clear ultimates within the first week of release, I believe. Like, he's good. He's very good. It's one of the reasons why I watch his content, because he knows what the fuck he's talking about. Now, as I said earlier, if he has a shit take, I'm gonna call him out on it, because it's a shit take. But generally speaking, he is a great content creator. and I'm never going to attempt to take that away from him, because he is a great creator. He's a great streamer, and again, he's got a lot of knowledge. I wouldn't be subscribed to him if I didn't like his content. Period. Even if I don't always agree with him, that's fine. We're not always going to agree. Period. But he is a great streamer and he's a great content creator, and as such, I watch his content. And when it comes to this game, you know, whether I agree with some of his takes or not, there's probably no other person outside of maybe Zeppla that I would even want to speak with regarding this game. Those are literally, those are probably the only two people that I would want to speak to regarding this game, and even more so Xeno than Zepp. You know, I think Zeppla makes pretty good content too. But if I had a choice between which one I would want to speak with first and foremost, it would be Xeno through and through. Like, he's the first person I would ever want to talk to about this game, hands down. Mainly because he plays tank and I want to be a better tank. So if I want to be a better tank, I'm definitely going to talk to him about tanking, because he can tell me what I need to know. He can tell me what I need to do and show me. So why wouldn't I want to speak with him? You know what I'm saying? I mainly run DPS, and DPS, you can kind of bullshit your way through with most DPS classes. Let's just be real. You can kind of bullshit your way through with most of them, and a good tank can sort of kind of carry your ass. You know, if you're half decent with the DPS, you can bullshit your way through mostly any content. Mostly, if you're halfway decent. But if you're a tank or a healer, you typically need to be on point, because those roles are typically more important. At least that's how I feel about it. I feel tank and healing roles are more important than DPSing, mainly because DPSing is a dime a dozen. Like, DPS roles are a dime a dozen. Everybody plays them. You know, I'm a clear example. I fucking play them. You know what I'm saying? We all play. Most of us play DPS. But let's keep going.
It's also not even the first time something like this has happened, so why are these idiots pretending it is? Pretending that didn't happen before because you're mad you didn't get a few extra DPS buttons is a special kind of snowflakery designated for the North Pole affairs. AVCap recently cleared a dungeon with all healers. Weird, didn't see any tank and DPS strikes coming out of that, but of course I wouldn't. It didn't trend the same way this did. To recap, while
because we're not going to care. In fact, we're probably going to applaud the efforts. Like, okay, you clear with all healers. Well, first off, you've got nothing but massive heals all around. So freaking, you can have literally like one person healing everybody, or two people. You can have two healers doing the healing, the other two doing the DPSing, and when they're freaking not healing, they can then jump in and freaking do DPS. So I can see how that could actually work. Like, I could actually see how that could be over OP as hell, especially if it's like, let's say, I don't know, let's say two of them are like, say, white mages, and then the other two are like sages, or better yet, let's say you got like three white mages and a scholar, or even a sage. Yeah, let's just say like three. Let's say like two white mages, two sages. You have one sage doing the shielding, the other sage adding to the DPS alongside the other white mages. Or even better, you got four sages. You know, the most offensive freaking healer. You know, the most offensive healer out of all four healers, and then every single one of them can shield. I mean, I can see it working.
the frustration is understandable, this strike will achieve nothing. And frankly, I don't even believe half these people are actually refusing to queue. It reminds me of all the people who claim to be quitting and refunding after the Endwalker delay. On a scale of 1 it didn't happen, that didn't fucking happen the most. How about we drop this toddlers and tiaras behaviour and move towards providing constructive feedback and engaging with the development process? It's an essential step towards meaningful change, and hey look, you don't look like a cunt doing it. Anyways, that's enough moulding from me. What do you think about the healer strike? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and let's engage in constructive dialogue. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more content on Final Fantasy XIV. And click this, because you've just seen me angrily rant and roast for 8 minutes straight. Perhaps you need a change of pace. Boy. I know I do. Hi, hello.
Okay. So yeah, that is Myth Samuel. So definitely give him a like and join him. Actually, I should probably go and subscribe to him because this guy's he's actually kind of funny. So subscribe to him. Also, in regards to Xeno, was it Xenosys? I think it's his full name. So we'll find him. Yeah, Xenosys Vets. Um, Despite me criticizing him in the video that I reacted to, like I said, he is a great streamer, great content creator. Give him, if you don't agree with the video, I personally don't agree with the video, so I'm not going to like the video. However, I do say check out his channel anyway. Check out his content. If you're a fan of Final Fantasy and you have any interest in tanking, he is the person to look at. Like, I would definitely say check out his content. Like I said, he's very good at what he does. He knows what he's talking about. He does have some bad takes when it comes to certain things, but for the most part, he's very knowledgeable. He knows what he's doing. He knows what he's talking about, and he is a great creator. Don't always agree with him, but that's the best part about being an individual. We don't always have to agree. So check him out and give him some support if you do like his content. And same thing with Myth. Myth, I think is a good creator. Just like I said, it's like my second or third video that I've watched from him, and he's funny. So definitely give him a look see. So, well, I would definitely say this much. In regards to these episodic streams, they're definitely going to be much shorter. So they're not going to be as long for certain. And I think that's probably a good thing, you know, because I was actually thinking about that too when I was thinking of, coming up with subjects to talk about and things I want to do, and for the episodic streams and whatnot. Is like, do I really want to sit there and try to drag out a stream for 3, 4, 5+ hours when it's just basically me giving my thoughts on a subject and whatnot, or me reacting to a video, or me reacting to a news article and stuff and giving commentary. And I thought about it, I was like, you know what? No, I really don't want to drag out a stream if I don't have to. If I only have if I only have one subject to talk about for that, for that particular stream, but that particular episode, then that's all I'm going to talk about. It just so happened that in this case, I found 2 videos. I was essentially only going to talk about one, and then I just happened to come across this one as well. So I was like, okay, now I have 2. And that's pretty much what happens. Like, I ended up finding 2 videos, and I ended up coming across this one before I even started the stream. I found this like maybe 15 minutes prior to me starting the stream. And, and like I said, starting this episode. So I just literally came across it on a whim, and that became the second subject. So that's pretty much that's pretty much how that ended up going. Because originally I only had one subject to talk about. Because as much as you might think it'd be easy, like, it's kind of a pain, or not even really a pain, but it's not as easy as I thought it would be to find something to talk about when I'm sitting here looking on things, and I don't necessarily want to react to somebody else's reaction. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want, like, Aspen does that a lot, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like, if you're a react channel and you want to, just react to other people's reactions, cool, that's, do you, boo-boo. Me personally, I want to give commentary, but I don't necessarily just want to react to someone else's reaction. And I want to find a video that's just fresh and whatnot. Like, this video is probably the freshest video I could find on this subject. Because I generally talk about, like, Final Fantasy. Because, again, this is a game that I've been playing for, like, the longest time. I've been playing for 8 years. Well, actually, no. I've been playing Warframe longer, but I really have nothing to discuss with that game. Not that I hate it, I have nothing to discuss about it because I don't play it nearly as much. I have way more time invested in this game. In fact, I actually looked up my game time for this game. My total game time was 193 at the time that I looked at it, which was yesterday. It was 193 days, which equates to over 4,600 hours. So I was like, holy crap. I actually had to freaking put into Google to freaking translate the 193 days into hours, and it came up to like over 4,600 hours. And I was shocked. I was like, holy crap, I didn't realize I put that much time into this game. But again, I've been playing for over 8 years, so it kind of makes sense. But it's also kind of funny that in 8 years, I've only accumulated 193 days worth, so not even a full year's worth of game time in 8 years. So I was like, holy crap, I really do. But then again, I don't play this game solely. Like if I played, Final Fantasy 14 and only Final Fantasy 14, then I promise you, I would have twice that amount of game time. Yeah, I would easily have twice the amount of game time. So it is what it is. I like to bounce around, but when it comes to like content that I'm looking to produce, both here on Twitch and on YouTube, it's going to be Final Fantasy centered, or it's going to be Final Fantasy focused. Or no, actually, I was right the first time. But it'll be Final Fantasy centered content. Because that's where my interest has always lied for the last 8 years. And every time I try to think of things that I want to do, especially like on here, especially on here on this platform, and even on YouTube, like when I think of things that I would like to do content wise, it usually comes back to Final Fantasy. Like I probably watch more Final Fantasy videos than anything else, unless it's like just random drama BS. Then I watch that too, just because sometimes it's funny. But generally, I do look up a lot of Final Fantasy videos and stuff. So I'm like, well, instead of me looking up videos, I would actually like to be part of the person making those videos, So here I am. But as I said, that's going to be it for this episode of Let's Talk About It. So I thank y'all for tuning into it. I thank you, Alexia, for jumping into the conversation and talking with me. And the rest of y'all do the same. Like I said, I'm gonna do an episode every Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. So 4 days a week, we're doing Let's Talk About It episode. We're doing an episode of Let's Talk About It. And it's not just me just talking about this. Like, I want y'all to jump in on the conversation too. Like, even if y'all don't really have an interest in Final Fantasy, maybe you have maybe there's some part of the conversation that you can still throw in your 2 cents on. And from a general perspective, it doesn't necessarily have to be from a Final Fantasy perspective, but just from a general perspective, say what you gotta say. And again, as far as like finding out about my streams and whatnot, or any information, go to my Discord. And what I started doing is I'll start announcing my episodes on Discord, like the title names, so y'all will at least know what to expect. So I'll definitely be doing that more and actually announcing my episodes. So this way you have a better idea. So until then, I will catch y'all again tomorrow. I'll catch y'all tomorrow. Like I said, tomorrow's going to be game time. As far as what game we're going to play, I haven't decided yet. It'll either be Elden Ring, because I still need to beat the final boss. And I would rather do that on stream rather than do that off stream. So tomorrow will probably be Final Fantasy, or not Final Fantasy, Elden Ring, and beating the final boss. And then afterwards, if I can't do it then, I'll probably keep trying. And then Friday will probably be Final Fantasy, because by then I should have the storyline beaten, assuming I can get Samurai to level 100 by then, and I'm pretty sure I can. So that's what I'm looking forward to for the rest of this week. So I'll be looking at some more content to try to figure out what I'm going to do on my next episode of Let's Talk About It for Thursday and Saturday. And Wednesday, Friday, like I said, Wednesday is going to be Elden Ring, so that's tomorrow. And Friday, it'll either be Elden Ring or it will be Final Fantasy. So that's the timeline I'm looking at. That's what y'all can look forward to. So until then, appreciate y'all tuning in. Love y'all. Appreciate y'all support. Y'all make this possible. Whether y'all talk or not, I'm gonna keep doing what I gotta do. I'm gonna keep doing what I came here to do because y'all the reason I do it. So I appreciate y'all. And I'll see y'all tomorrow. Peace out.